to the Mostly Pod Out at Night. Mostly, I am Graveyard, joined by my co-host Salem.
Hello.
This is episode 30 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. Join us, will you, as we continue our self-inflicted torture by continuing our dive into the not-so-twisted world of M. Night Shyamalan. Tonight we'll be using the word horror very loosely for these movies, and fair warning now, spoilers ahead for Knock at the Cabin. So as we discussed 2 weeks ago, because last week, what a twist, we didn't do M. Night.
Right.
We had to get some good movies in there between these two sessions.
The palate cleanser. They call it the palate cleanser.
Yes. Yeah, there's a good palate cleanser by far. But tonight we'll be going in chronological order as we always do. So we have The Happening, The Visit, Old, and Knock at the Cabin. Two of these, he didn't even make the original content, so it's amazing how bad they are.
Yeah. He definitely put his own twist on it.
We'll discuss those on our rant. We'll have our twist rant time as we did 2 weeks ago on the last.
Oh yeah, I will do my best to hold back my venom until we get to rant time. No promises, but I'm going to try my hardest to get there.
And I just gotta say, these movies I absolutely dreaded coming back to rewatch them. These are the only movies so far in 30 episodes that I just go, I actually have to watch these. Like, I gave other stuff fair attempts because I enjoyed cheese a lot and campiness, and as our viewers know, still not so much, right?
Yeah. The Happening was a movie that I'm pretty sure I said out loud at the end of it, I will never watch this movie again. So I broke my own rule, and I did watch it again.
Probably with beer.
Oh yeah. I had to pregame that movie.
Yeah. And we will be alternating our recaps, and then, like I said, we'll be doing our, does the twist ruin the movie / rant time, and we're sticking with number of brain cells lost out of 10. Yes, the higher number means we lost more brain cells, but we've lost brain cells, so give us a break.
Right.
So Salem will leading us off with the recap for The Happening.
The Happening.
Trees are bad.
Yeah, exactly. What year did this come out in?
2008.
2008. I thought that was an interesting thing to where, obviously cell phones were out, but they weren't as I guess I should say cell phones were pretty prevalent, but like smartphones were not.
Correct.
But yeah, everybody had a cell phone, but smartphones were not really a thing. So, I guess it's an interesting time capsule to see.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, recap. So The Happening, it starts off with, Central Park in New York. You got a bunch of, normal people walking around, hanging out, doing normal Central Park type things, walking dogs and jogging and sitting on benches.
We got construction workers here.
Right. Yeah. So they're doing all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden people start saying weird things, repeating the same things over and over again. And then, basically killing themselves. It starts off with
walking backwards. And then
walking backwards, talking funny, then walking backwards, and then just mass suicide.
So what we mean by talking funny, if you remember the Seinfeld episode where Kramer got a concussion, he just shouts out "Yo-Yo Ma" for no reason. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. It's they just basically keep repeating the same line. You're supposed to say, "Hey, they already said that." You're supposed to see it as a weird thing, right?
Right.
So they do that. Suicides. The one lady pulls the hair chopsticks that the lady said. They're very popular around this time period. But she pulls one of those out and just stabs herself in the neck with it. And the one girl is the only kind of person that sees this as odd. Everyone else is just killing themselves. So then we kind of switch to, people watching this on the news, saying there's some kind of terrorist attack, something's happening. What's going on with this? Then I think after that we go to the construction site, to where there's a bunch of union guys standing around, talking, chatting.
Yep.
And all of a sudden some guy falls off a building. They're
Vinny,
like, oh,
he got hurt.
Oh no, Vinny. So they run over and they're like, trying to calling for an ambulance and stuff like that. And as they're doing that, somebody else falls off. And then another, and they look up and there's 5 people jumping off all at the same time. So everybody's just mass suicide, killing themselves.
Full lemmings.
Right. Yeah. So essentially we're just shown that, places are happening all over the, New York area of people killing themselves randomly. So then we get to a school where Marky Mark is a teacher, a science teacher.
Hey there, I'm a little bit of something scientist myself.
Yeah. So he's trying to show that he's a good teacher in touch with the hip kids. Hey,
you're gonna be ugly one day.
Right. trying to get them to engage with science. And they're
trying to learn scientific theory.
Right.
Essentially, is the causality of things. He talked about the honeybees disappearing. What caused the honeybees to disappear?
Right. Well, yeah, talking about the scientific process and how you would apply that to, the honeybees or basically any situation in general. Right. So anyway, there's the vice principal comes in. He tries to make a little joke about it, but whatever. The vice principal comes in, says, "Oh, you got to come with me." So he goes into the auditorium where it's all the other teachers are sitting. And then we also meet John Leguizamo, who plays his best friend, who's also a teacher at the school.
Math teacher, because statistically he had to be a math teacher.
Correct. Yes. So they're watching this. They talk about the deaths in New York and specifically Central Park, and how they think it's a terrorist attack.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they dismiss school early. All the kids go home. They basically go home to figure out what's going on. John Leguizamo basically says he's leaving town, and he wants Marky Mark to come with him. His wife is Zooey Deschanel, and basically he convinces her to come with. They're all going to go with and get out of town to I think it was his mom's place. They had a cabin in the woods or something. I don't remember where they were.
And his wife was on her way to Trenton, New Jersey.
Right.
And they specify that a lot.
Right.
And also point of contention here is that John Leguizamo does not like Zooey Deschanel's character.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, she is Mark Wahlberg and her. I don't know if I don't even care what their character names are. I'm sorry, but
I don't care.
I'm just gonna call them by their real names because I don't remember what they're. Anyway, so they have a kind of schism in their relationship, right? Where they're kind of on the fence, right? We learn that Zooey is kind of she likes someone else. She shared a tiramisu with some other guy, right? And then so she had an emotional affair with this other guy. So there's something going on there. Their marriage is kind of on the rocks, and he has talked to John Leguizamo about this, and he is in the know. So he doesn't really like her because he knows that they're on the rocks, and he knows that she doesn't.
It's his best friend. That makes sense.
Yeah, right. That she's not as emotionally connected as he would like her to be, kind of thing. As I think what's going on. I don't think he thinks she's invested in his relationship as much as Marky Mark is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they all get packed and everything, and they're gonna all leave together. So they go to the train station. John Leguizamo basically just says, "Oh, my wife is not going to be here. She's taking the next train. So me and my daughter are going to take this train with you guys." They go to get on the train. Zooey, bizarrely says, "Oh, we're not going to be sit on the train anyway together. So I'm just going to go to the next car away from you guys." So she goes in the next car to get on the train, and then Marky Mark, John Leguizamo, and the little girl all kind of sit together. And then as they get on the train and they're traveling, there's, news, which is interesting because, without smartphones, again, not everyone can see this. There's only certain people that are talking to people on the phone in these areas that are finding out more information. I guess another attack happens in Boston. Basically it starts happening all over the whole New England area.
Well, the biggest cities where the news started coming out from the most. They're saying, we gotta get out to the suburbs or the rural areas,
right,
of New England,
right. Right, yeah. So it was basically like New England area. So of course New York got hit first because New York is the biggest. Then it's like Boston, and I don't remember what the other New England big cities, right? Or these things are happening in.
Well,
So
Trenton was one of them, yeah.
Right. So they're like, okay, we got to go. Jack Leguizamo managed to get a hold of his wife. She got on a bus instead of the train, and she's going to, I think, Princeton, New Jersey, or something.
Yeah.
So she's okay, at least for the time being. And they're still on the train traveling out of town, but they're getting news reports in and out of like these bad things happening, all these people committing suicide, essentially. So eventually they get to the point where the train stops. They find out that the train service has canceled because they lost all contact with their home base.
With who? Everybody.
Right, yeah. Everyone. So they have no contact with the home base, so they just stop the train because I guess that's what train protocol is. So basically they're stuck in this place. They go to like a diner to hang out, and they basically are kind of like left to fend for themselves. So they're trying to find a ride to get somewhere else, to try to get out of this area. So John Leguizamo ends up finding a ride with these Jeep folks, and he's going to, he's going to go to Princeton, New Jersey to try to meet up with his wife. He leaves his daughter with Marky Mark and Zooey, who are going to, keep traveling along. They're going to Philly. They're going to Philly. They're hanging out with Hot Dog Man and his wife.
That's a good description of him. He is Hot Dog Man and his wife.
Okay, well he has 5 lines, and 3 of them are about hot dogs.
Correct.
So
the other 2 are about talking to his plants.
Right. So we call him Hot Dog Man. So anyway, so John Leguizamo goes in the Jeep. We get a scene of him driving to Princeton, New Jersey. They just see a bunch of dead people everywhere, and essentially they see that there's like a little flap hole in the Jeep to where whatever is happening gets in the Jeep. And the guy driving crashes them into a tree, and they essentially all just get out and kill themselves.
Yes.
Right. So that we get to Marky Mark and Zooey and Hot Dog Man and his wife, and Django Leguizamo's daughter. So they get to Hot Dog Man's house, who has like a greenhouse.
Huge greenhouse, surprisingly not full of pot.
Right. Yeah. It appears to be like soybeans or something.
Yeah.
So he's like, I think it's the plants. The plants are doing this because, plants are smart. And he's like talking to his plants like, we'll be back soon. So they all jump in his like SUV and they drive out. They basically get down the road and they see something ahead, and they have binoculars and they look, and it's dead bodies in the street. So they're like, okay, let's not go that way. So they're like, okay, well, we have 3 other directions to go, right? So like, let's go the 3 other directions. And at that exact moment, cars come from every other direction. One of them is a soldier in like a Humvee, and the other directions, all people come in, and they all talk about, oh yeah, there's dead people down the road here 5 miles. Oh, there's dead people down the road 7 miles this way. Like, there's dead people everywhere, right? So they all just kind of gather together. At this point, they kind of sort of start figuring out that like, oh, it seems like, people are dying when they're in large numbers.
Right.
So maybe we should try to split up and go and find other places. There's like a realtor guy that says, oh, if we're looking for a desolate type place, go to this area. No one lives there, right? It's just open rural land.
Right.
So they're like, okay, let's do that. So they all try to like go on this big trek. And as they're walking, they split up into different groups. One group gets hit with a wind of some kind, and they all kill themselves with the soldier's gun.
Let's call him Gomer Pyle.
Right. Essentially. Yeah. So Gomer Pyle kills himself with his gun, and then everybody else like basically keeps picking up his gun and keeps shooting themselves. So they all like commit suicide all in a row.
Can I just state something about Gomer Pyle here? He was the most cognitive about what he was saying, because he's reciting, but this is my rifle, this is all they're like it.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. He was reciting boot camp lingo.
Right. Yeah. And then you just hear gunshot after gunshot. Not seeing anything, but just
right. It's like, oh, we should go back and check on him. And at this point, like, Hot Dog Man and Marky Mark are kind of convinced that, it could be the plants doing this, and it seems to be targeting larger groups of people.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, we should kind of like, split up. We shouldn't go back and check them out. We should just kind of split up and go our own way. Wind starts coming in again. So they basically kind of split up and run in all different directions.
Yes, they go to outrun the wind.
Right. So they're going to outrun the wind. And so it ends up being Hot Dog Man goes down. Hot Dog Man and his wife are gone. So it ends up being Marky Mark, Zooey, the little girl, and then two, like, I don't know, football kids. I mean, I guess that's how you could describe them, right?
Yes, they're football players. Sure,
yeah, they seem like
football players.
Right, they seem like high school football kids, right?
But they knew Marky Mark.
I don't think they did.
I thought he knew their names.
Well, I think he learned their names.
Oh, okay.
But I think because he knew that, like, he knew the kind of kids that they were, because I guess he's a high school teacher, so he knows how to, like, talk to kids. Maybe, I don't know. It just seemed like that was the familiarity that he had, was because he knew how to do it.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so they all get to, like, this house. They're, like, knocking on the doors. And they basically figure out that there's people in the house, but they don't want them there. They're like, get out of here, leave. Like, we don't want you bringing in whatever disease is out there. And so they're like, okay, we'll leave. And then the two football kids are kind of like, no, we're going to break in. So they start, like, kicking the door. And of course, when they do that, a shotgun comes out and blasts one of them. And then the other one, using all of his intelligence, keeps banging on the door. And so he gets shot too. So then now it's just Marky Mark, Zooey, and the little girl run away, because obviously this house is not going to help them. And they run through the forest, and they end up finding another house with an old lady who is there's no, like, power to this house. There's no TV, no radio, no nothing.
She's off the grid.
Yeah, like, completely off the grid. And she lives in this area this is the area the realtor guy told them to go to. The completely empty land. This is where they are now.
Yep.
So the lady doesn't want to let him in, but they eventually, convince her to let him in. She's, like, very goofy, because I think she's kind of like a hermit, right? She doesn't know how to deal with people anymore because she's been alone for so long. I think.
Well, I guess I just gotta feed you dinner now.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah, it's very odd. But anyway, so yeah, she, like, feeds them, and then she's like, oh, I guess I can let you spend the night, just one night. And then basically changes her mind anyway, because they're, like, kind of snooping around the house. And she catches them, and then she's like, get the hell out of here. But it's that they try to sort of convince her to stay, but then she, like, basically the wind blows at her, and she basically, goes off in the garden and kills herself.
Yep.
And at this point, Marky Mark is stuck in the main house, and he was looking for Zooey and the little girl. And he can hear them, but he can't see them. Eventually figures out they're in, like, this, like, outhouse, like, outbuilding.
A guest house that had a pipe built between it for when there were slaves running away,
right,
from the Harry Tubman time of this stuff. And so
the Underground Railroad, right?
Underground Railroad, yeah. So they were able to communicate between the houses.
Right, yeah. So the old lady told them this during dinner, I guess.
Yes.
Left that out. So they can, like, hear each other, but they're like, the wind is going outside, and they're like, he's like, oh, close the windows, close the doors, the wind is coming, like, it's gonna get us. So he's like, okay, we just gotta, like, wait this out,
because they said it's supposed to be done by, like, 9:30 in the morning.
Well, they said it's
something like that.
Yeah, they said it's going to be cresting soon. That they assume maybe it'll end soon. They don't know.
Right.
So Marky Mark makes the brave sacrifice of waiting for, like, 10 minutes before he goes, I can't take it anymore. I have to go see my wife, and walks outside, basically whatever will be, right? He goes outside. Yeah, and then she walks out at the same time with the kid. And instead of them killing themselves, it's just regular wind, and it looks like the event is over. So they're like, all happy ending, right? So it's Marky Mark and Zooey and the little girl. So that's the end, and they kind of fast forward a bit. And then now they're all
6 months, something like that.
Yeah, they're living together happily
in Philly,
in Philadelphia. And they're like a little happy family now, and they seem to have worked out all of their issues. And then the very end is another event, like the Central Park event happens, but it's somewhere in Paris.
Paris.
So yeah, you see, so it's the same kind of thing happens with the people talking backwards or talking funny and then walking backwards and everybody kills themselves. But you see like the Eiffel Tower in the background.
Yep.
Showing that, this is not just a single place thing. This is now happening worldwide.
Well, so the news exposition it was just New England.
Right.
Area.
Yeah. Well, they said it was just one specific area. It's kind of hard to say that this was a plant thing or a worldwide thing because it didn't happen anywhere else. It only happened in this one area. So now this other place happened.
And it's been 6 months since the last attack.
Right. So yeah, so this place happened, this other one happens. So now, that's where it goes. You would think that London would be the next one, right? Because London is like the second largest city in the world, I think.
Correct.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, movie over.
Yep. This wasn't your first time, but I know we discussed this on the last episode 28. And you waited to watch this one. What was your first thought when you initially watched this? And what was your thought?
When I was first watching it, I kind of thought it was bad on purpose. Like I kind of assumed like, okay, maybe he's trying to make this like as cheesy as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe that's what's going on. But as you watch it, no, that's not what's happening because there are people that are acting well in it. And mostly people are not, but there are some people that are doing a good job. And if it was like just totally cheesy campy, everybody would be on the same page. And everybody is not on the same page in this movie. So
let's face it, Marky Mark and Zoe are not the good actors.
Oh God, no. I mean, no. They are, this is like some of the worst dialogue, the worst like filmmaking I've ever seen is in this movie. It is horrible. But yeah, that's what I was thinking at the time. I was like, maybe this is intentionally bad. But as the movie went along, I was like, no, this is just a horrible, horrible movie. And I think at the end of this, I think M. Night Shyamalan, when he was like interviewed, like, why is the movie so bad? Because like everybody knows the movie's bad. And I think he said he did it on purpose because he was trying to recreate like the cheesy movies of like the 50s and 60s.
You look like the shorts, no springs,
right?
Type like that, like Reefer Madness, and
right. And we all know that's a lie. I mean, we all know that's just him backpedaling. Like, no, I wasn't trying to be serious at all. I was being a joke. Like, no, you weren't. You did this. Just own it.
Yeah, but I mean, what did you say that we talked this off before we recorded? What did you say that after you watched this the first time, though? At the end.
At the end of it, I said, I will never watch this movie again.
Here we are.
Yeah, I know. I'm breaking my own rule. But yeah, I mean, this movie is that bad where I was like, I will never watch this movie again. This is a horrible movie.
Yeah. This might have been only my second time seeing it in one sitting fully through. No, I mean, I think the third time. First time was right after it came on DVD. Second time was with riff tracks, and then this third time was again a serious sit down and watch versus the riff tracks version. Premise was my first thoughts were premise was okay, but I go like this is like he scraped the bottom of the tank of ideas at this point in time, I thought. Because the two before this and the one after this, which he didn't direct, but Devil, were just awful.
Yes.
I go, Ed Night's done. That was my first thought.
Yeah. Yes.
He's drowning with the lake on fire and someone hands him a baby type of done.
Right. Yeah, it's yeah. I'm gonna hold back most of it until we get to rant time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Any highlights for you?
There are actually. I would say like John Leguizamo does a great job in this movie. Surprisingly, I don't know how he managed to do it, but somehow out of this movie, he managed to pull a great performance out of there. I mean, yeah, he's not in the movie for like that long, but when he's in there, he did a great job. I mean, fantastic job. And I would say him and the old lady hermit at the end. Like, they did a great job. Like, actually, like, acted well. Like, played their roles perfectly.
Right.
I mean, everybody else was horrible. I mean, I'll go right into the low point, is that the acting of this movie is so ridiculously bad. I mean, it is like, they were almost like, like trying to one up each other with like, I can act worse. No, I can act worse. I mean, like the expressions on their face, the reactions that they're having, the way that they're talking, it's like comically bad.
What? No.
Yeah, I mean, like literally. I mean, the facial expressions, it's like, are you serious?
It's the trees.
Right.
Run.
Yeah, it's bad.
I 100% agree with you on your highlights and low points. And I don't know how accurate this might be a low point going to the ramp, but how accurate that tube is between those houses. Because I'm sorry, if you're hiding anyone, you wouldn't have a pipe that would let the people in the main house hear them. Right?
Yeah, not all the time, right? It wouldn't just be sitting there.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I know that a lot of old timey houses had like, you know, the weird pipe horns to where like they could call for help and stuff. I don't know. I've never really seen how that works. So I imagine in some realm, a version of this would work. I don't know if it would work the way that they had it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, again, it doesn't seem plausible to me. But again, I think there could be a way that it is done to work. I just don't think it was done in this movie the right way.
Correct. And the pipe was pretty fresh looking for being as old as it was.
Okay, it had threads on it. Okay, they did not have threaded pipe in the 1800s. I'm sorry.
No, they did not. Well, on that note, then, should we go into does the twist ruin the movie, if it even could be ruined at this point in time from the twist and ramp time? Let's get into this thing.
Okay, now, I mean, what is the twist, really? The twist is what? It's plants. It's plants killing people. That's the twist. Okay, now... Here's my main problem with this is that, I mean, I don't know if there's such a complex system of like brain chemicals that would need to be triggered in order to make this stuff happen.
Yes.
I'm not saying it could not happen. I am saying that it would nowhere near happen the way that it does. There is no chemical that a plant could spray into the air without any kind of, you know, experimentation. Like, this is literally the first event of this kind ever happening. And it has a 100% success rate, which is ridiculous.
Not only that, if you want to say that a particular plant can evolve to do something, that's one thing. But to have a coordinated attack across the huge biodiversity that exists in New England itself, to have a coordinated attack across everything, every plant, is absurd.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, now they have shown, I have seen studies that show, like, you know, certain species can communicate from plant to plant. Like, the individual plants can communicate with individual plants using, you know, their root systems and stuff like that, you know, to where they can actually like share resources and stuff like that. Like, they can communicate, but we're talking across species of plants. I mean,
and across states.
Right. I mean, this is, I mean, again, that is one thing that's ridiculous. That would never, ever happen. Two is, like I said, that brain chemistry is so different from person to person. Could you spray a chemical in the air that would make some people commit suicide? Yes. I mean, sure. I mean, the ridiculousness of that happening, the odds of that happening are extremely low. But, I mean, could it happen? Possibly. I mean, they've shown that, you know, certain chemicals, you know, like if certain people have certain reactions to something, like I'm sure you've seen on, like, you know, drug commercials where they say, like, you know, side effects are increased, you know, suicide risk and stuff like that. Yes. So there are things that you can do to your brain chemistry that would increase your likelihood of killing yourself, but there's nothing that will cause you to kill yourself with 100% success rate. That is ridiculous to even think about.
And in unique and interesting ways.
Right. I mean, I understand, like, I understand what you're trying to say. The metaphor here is that, humans shouldn't destroy the planet because the plants might fight back. Like, okay, that's great. I really wish they would. But if they did, it would not be like this. And if they did, it would not be 100%. Would there be some people committing suicide in Central Park? I'm sure. Would most of those people survive? Absolutely, they would.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way you can, with 100%, functionality, 100%, across the board, all of these people would just kill themselves being exposed to some neurochemical that it's ridiculous to think about. There's no way that would ever happen.
Well, let's put it this way. It is a poor man's The Stand. I feel like which that even wasn't 100% effective. It was close.
No, but that's the thing. Like, anyone who knows something, you can have something that would wipe out almost the entire planet. And again, almost is the key there. No virus will kill everyone. Some people will always naturally be immune to it. No one knows why. No one knows how. Sometimes you'll get the disease that kills almost 100% of the time, but you'll survive anyway. Right? I mean, there are people that get Ebola and survive. It's not the majority, but some people do. Right? I mean, so no matter how bad the disease is, some people will catch it and survive, and some people will never catch it at all. Even if you literally inject them with it, they're immune to it.
Correct.
Right? I mean, it happens. Obviously we just went through a pandemic, and you've seen it. Some people get sick and they don't even show symptoms. They don't even know they're sick.
Right.
So, I mean, with this being a 100% success rate is ridiculous.
And only on people.
Correct.
If you're releasing such a chemical altering thing in the air, it's going to affect animals in some way and shape to a degree of something. It's not like, we can't go, dogs are immune to like nerve gas or, mustard gas, or it's like if you gave dog prescription medication, it's going to do something to them too. It's not the same as humans, but it would still cause something. I would think.
Well, I'm sure something would happen. I mean, obviously the dog's not going to kill themselves. I mean, I guess it's possible, but it would be a lot harder for a dog to do it.
Yeah. And it's the twist is the trees, and then they can run. Like they were showing the wind, them looking at it and going, "Hey, we can outrun this, right?" Like, you're not going to,
right?
It's the wind.
Again, I mean, there's wind gusts. We're not talking hurricane winds here. We're talking regular wind gusts. I mean, we get the warnings all the time. We just had a warning yesterday for 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
Yeah.
You can't run 60 miles an hour. I mean, nobody can. It's not physically possible to do.
Correct. And let's face it, those farmhouses aren't exactly draft proof. Have you ever been to a farmhouse?
Right.
Like, I'm going to close this door and then put something at the bottom. Yeah, because that's how air works. Once you close the door, there's no air getting into that room.
Right, yeah. Draft the old farmhouse that's like at least, okay, it had underground railroad communication system, which means it's like, over 150 years old. Right? Like, there's no way that house is not drafty. There's no way there's not holes where the wind can just blow right in.
Let alone the house that Zoe and the daughter were in.
Zooey.
Because that's going to be built out even worse.
Yeah, I know. But again, he was like, she had just killed herself. The old lady had just killed herself. And he didn't tell her to close the door until a full couple minutes after that.
Yeah.
And the field that she killed herself in was right next to that little house they were in. There's no way that it didn't blow in that house.
Yes.
But again, I mean, the twist is that this is not possible. And again, as I think I said this last episode too, I love sci-fi, right? I understand that I have to suspend my disbelief a lot to enjoy sci-fi because a lot of it doesn't make sense. But you try to noodle it out, make it make sense in your head canon, right? This is why it works. You can make it work. This you can't. I mean, there's no way. There's no way you slice it that this would ever possibly happen. I understand the metaphor he's trying to make here. It just, again, this is what M. Night Shyamalan does. He comes up with like this base metaphor, and he writes this movie around it. And no matter how badly it doesn't make sense, like no one calls him out on it somehow, and he manages to make a movie that ends up like this.
Right. And okay, and just to put it in today's relevance of the idea of this 100%ness effective, for anyone listening, we are 5 episodes into The Last of Us. People are immune there too.
Right.
Not a lot.
No, it's not a lot. But I mean, it would be, it's possible. There's always some small percentage of people that are immune to whatever is happening.
Correct.
I mean, obviously, unless it's like a nuclear bomb or something, but even like, when bombs hit, like, the Japanese cities, people survived. I mean, obviously not in good shape, but they did.
There's a guy that survived both of them.
Right. I mean, so like, again, bad things happen, but sometimes people survive anyway. And this movie like doesn't factor in those percentages at all. It's just like everything's 100% effective 100% of the time.
Yes.
And that to me is just, it's beyond, I can't suspend my disbelief that much. There's no way it's 100%.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the twisted being the trees is dumb. It really,
I mean, it is. I mean,
really
again,
is.
The idea of it could make sense, but the way that he does it does not.
Yeah. Completely agree. So the movie was just bad. And we'll say it here is what we've discussed recently too, is M. Night Shyamalan actors that do good in his movies are people that don't need direction. And anyone that needs direction ends up being worse actors because of his clearly lack of direction capabilities.
Right.
So Marky Mark and Zooey, clearly not good.
Yeah, like Marky Mark, he's been good in movies. I mean, I've seen him in movies, but these are movies with strong directors, right?
Right.
Movies with strong directors can make him good. And I think he's good when he has like some kind of like weird kind of comedic edge to his performance in some way. I think he's really good at playing that kind of role. And I think he tried to play that role here. And I just think it completely fell flat because they didn't know how to like work that in.
He just seemed as dumb as he did in the Transformers movies with Michael Bay.
Right.
Clearly also not a good director.
Right. But he was, he tried to make it fun. Right.
Right.
And in that he comes across as, he's trying to make it fun. It's just a bad movie. You can't save a bad movie like that.
No.
But yeah, he was just trying to be fun in that movie. In this movie, I think he tries to be fun. I think he tries to ham it up because he probably assumes this is supposed to be bad because it's just that bad. And I know that M. Night Shyamalan and a lot of other people say it's supposed to be bad. It's not. It's not, though. I mean, why do you have some people that act like it's completely serious and do a great job being serious in a movie that's supposed to be comedic? It doesn't make sense.
Correct. And at least they gave Zooey's character the plot point of she doesn't know how to show emotions. She's, emotionless, which plays great for her acting capability.
Right. And again, like at this time when this movie came out, I watched it because I liked her at the time. This is 2008. This is like, peak of her at the time. Like, She and Him, you ever hear them? The band?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's her. Their music was around at that time. I mean, yeah, she was like big at that time.
Right.
And I liked her, and I watched this movie, and she was terrible in it. It's unfortunate, but like a lot of movies, especially around this time, she was always playing that manic pixie dream girl character.
Yep.
And I think she's great at that character. But in this, she wasn't playing that, and I think she just didn't get any direction at all. So she was like, well, my character doesn't have emotions. I mean, whether or not that was planned or not. I mean, it could have been like, well, let's just say that afterwards because it's so bad. But I don't know if it was planned or not. But again, maybe she was just rolling into that or leaning into that, and that's why she's so bad. I don't know. I just know that there's a lot of bad performances in this.
Yep.
And it's bad.
Yeah. I don't want to watch this again.
No, hopefully I never have to.
And we'll say it right now. When we do this 10 years from now, we're not revisiting M. Night Shyamalan with these movies.
Well, we can, but I'm not watching this movie again.
No.
I'm just, if you try to make me do it, I'm just going to like cut out sound bites from this and just paste it in.
There you go. That works. All right. So, I mean, if you had to say how many brain cells you actually lost, you could go with all of them. Yeah, but number of brain cells lost for our scale out of 10. What do you give this movie?
I mean, this movie, I mean, the week before that, right? I mean, like, The Village and Devil, I gave 2s.
Yeah.
And this movie is worse than that. So I have to give it a 1. One brain cell lost out of 10. Just because it is literally that bad. I mean, I give it a 1 simply because John Leguizamo did do a good job. It's a small ship in a huge ocean, but at least it's something.
Yeah, this isn't the worst movie we've watched ever.
No, not ever. No, not ever. But it's,
we know
it's
that.
up there.
It is 1.5. I'll give it a 0.5. We can average it to a 1.25.
Okay.
Why not, right? That's
Sure.
the twist. This movie sucks.
Yeah. The twist is there's no twist. It's just bad.
Yep. All right. Well, that brings me up for because technically he has other things. He has the devil between this. I think he has After Earth between this.
Oh, good.
And last Airbender between the devil and the visit, which we could say are zeros across the board.
Right. I didn't bother watching any of those because, obviously I did watch the devil, but I did not watch After Earth or the other thing. Because again, after watching these movies, I'm like, nope, I'm done with it. Nope. I'm not watching this ever again.
Nope. All right, so then we get into 2015, The Visit. Now, believe it or not, this is my first time watching this. Because when this came out, I go, no, I'm done with M. Night. Not going to happen. And just a quick note that the brother and sister in this movie played the best friend and the babysitter in Better Watch Out, which we reviewed in December, which came out a year later.
Right.
And after I pointed out to the wife, she goes, that is them. I go, yeah. They seem so much older a year later. I go, yeah.
Well, that's how children work. They age fast.
Oh, well, I know. Mine don't seem to. So we get arguably the best actor in this entire movie, Catherine Hahn. It's a not found footage. It's a documentary style horror movie. So it's kind of playing a little bit on the found footage, but they clearly state why they have cameras. They're not just holding cameras to hold cameras. The daughter is making a documentary because her mom, Catherine Hahn, ran away from home at 19 with their dad. And she hadn't seen her parents since then. And they go, they reached out over social media and got a hold of her and found her because the dad fell in love with the barista at Starbucks, who was already, dad was clearly, they said 10 years older than she was, and just left. So they're trying to deal with that. They're trying to reconnect to family, and they want to give mom a break to go out with, I don't remember the guy's name.
Miguel.
Yeah. So, first off the bat, you send your kids on a train by themselves to grandparents they never met and you don't go with.
Well, I mean, they kind of sort of give you a reason why. Because again, she had a huge falling out when she left. And basically she never forgave them. They never forgave her. She just doesn't want to deprive her children of knowing her grandparents, but she at this point does not want to reconcile with them.
Mima and Pop Pop.
Right.
Yeah.
Nana and Pop Pop.
Nana and Pop Pop, sorry.
Yeah, but she does not want to reconcile with them, but she doesn't want to deprive her children of having more family.
Right,
and
especially after everything they went through with the dad leaving.
Right. Yeah. And so, they offered to take them for a week while she goes on a cruise with her new boyfriend. And so she agreed. I mean, I could get that. I mean, the daughter was 15.
Yeah.
I mean, that's old enough to, you get kids like if you're sending your kids to like your grandparents in Florida, like, sometimes they send kids alone.
Yeah.
On a plane, I mean, it happens. I don't see it's that. I mean, they give you a fair explanation as to why.
I mean, we'll get into their explanation of things with the twist. I'm going to save that point for there. So anyway, and then the younger brother, he's a germaphobe. He's had it since the dad left. Also, he developed it. He wants to be a rapper, clearly, and bad at it. We get a little segment on the train with the conductor just spending time with the two kids, being the beatbox while the little kid raps, which was awful.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, like people will do that. Like a flight attendant on a plane, or they take a guy on a. Yeah, if you see two kids traveling alone, they kind of like gravitate toward them just to keep an eye on them. I mean, that's a normal thing.
So anyway, they get there and they're recording, and they just want to document how they're doing and trying to create the what she call it, the
elixir,
the sauce, the elixir. Yes, the elixir for their mom to help reconcile. That's their goal of this, and to figure out exactly what happened that night. So Nana and Pop Pop pick him up, and what was strange is I didn't see them have any luggage when they left the train.
Yeah.
And then they had a laptop with them with a camera as well that they were using to Skype with their mom because they had Wi-Fi at their house, at their farmhouse, which was odd.
Of course.
And essentially, they're finding out like, we became these therapists for other people, that they won awards, and that they recently kind of stopped doing it just because it's getting harder for them to do as they're getting older.
Right. Well, okay, to be fair, sorry, I'll rewind a bit. They did not have Wi-Fi. But they did have their old farmhouse wired for Ethernet.
Oh.
Because if you see when they're plugging...
Oh, that's the cord attached to it.
That's the cable, is they're plugging the Ethernet into the wall jack. So I think someone just kind of misunderstood like how internet works.
Yeah.
Like a farmhouse is not going to have Ethernet jacks like throughout the house. It's just not. There's no way.
No.
Wi-Fi, sure, if you put a Wi-Fi router in there. But again, they had no computers there. I don't even think they had a TV there.
They did.
Did they? I didn't.
Because Nana was watching it and laughing.
No, she was looking at the wall.
Well, they thought she was watching TV.
Right, but they never showed a TV.
Right.
So there may have been a TV there. I'm just being, but they didn't have a computer. They didn't have a reason to have Wi-Fi. But why would they have Ethernet jacks run through the house? They have internet on them. They have nothing to use the internet for. I mean, whatever.
Correct.
I mean, yeah. Well, I guess there's reasons why that may have been possible. But Ethernet jacks in, like that house is ridiculous. There's no way.
Correct. There's no way they got that.
Right.
So, they talk about, don't go downstairs, don't go into the barn. They just have kind of little weird rules, and they just have a little weird quirks that they just don't fully understand because this is the first time meeting them. And at night, they're like, oh, bedtime's 9:30, right? They go, okay, that's odd, which I think it's a fair time for grandparents to go to sleep and want their kids there to go to sleep, right?
Right.
and like it seems to happen at like 10:41 every evening. They just heard weird noise, and so they look out there, and like Nana is walking through the house throwing up.
Right.
I go, okay, that's So then they ask Pop, what's going on? Oh, she just she gets sick. She has, I don't remember what they said at this point it was.
I think he said it was just the stomach flu.
Just the stomach flu. She seems better now. They ask her if she's better. Yeah. Grandpa chops a lot of wood.
Yeah. And to be fair, Grandma was just like cooking breakfast like nothing was wrong in the morning.
Right.
So
yeah. And so they just go, okay, we get it. And I can understand the brother being concerned about it because he is germophobic at this point in time. And it makes sense that he would be disgusted by that. I'd be disgusted by it. I'm not germophobic.
Yeah.
I can't handle that. So they're just kind of going throughout their day. And I guess they went, at one point they went for a walk past the well, and before they got to them, they saw him like talking to the well. And they go, that's odd. And they went to investigate, and it's just nothing but water. Huh. Not much to that, right? And then I think because they have dates on there. So it's essentially a Monday through Friday or Tuesday through Friday. They're kind of staying there. And next night they hear like scratching or some weird noise. And they go into the room, and it's Nana scratching at the wall with her ass hanging out of her nightgown.
Well, no, she was not wearing anything at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I can see that being scarring for.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
It was scarring for me. And they're asking like, is Nana okay? Well, after kind of retiring, let's say from being therapist, she has it wasn't night terrors, it was sundowning, which is a thing.
It is a thing, yes.
Yeah, so essentially when the sun goes down, that she affects her, because people are actually affected by the lunar and solar cycles. Not as much as some people say, but people are affected by it, right? That we have this instinctual thing of the dark, that it's the lizard brain in their head that goes, it's dark, things can see you better than you can see them. And it's sometimes it's a rational fear.
Right.
The fear of the unknown. And I get that. They go, oh, okay. And they look it up, and they're like, oh, yeah, sundown is a real thing. It is part of like a almost dementia at this point in time. And I think the grandparents go somewhere, and the brother goes and investigates the barn or the shed, and he finds a whole bunch of diapers filled with shit.
Ugh. Yes.
Yeah.
And to be clear, adult
diapers. All because Pop is incontinent, and he's shameful of it, so he hides it.
Yeah, that's what Nana says when he tells Nana about it.
Right. And you know what? Fair point. Right?
Yeah. Well, at this point in time, yeah, that doesn't seem weird. At this point in time, but there's a lot of stuff stacking up to like, okay, these people probably shouldn't be taking care of children. Like,
well,
they both have serious issues.
They're playing hide and seek in the crawl space, which is full of bugs.
Right.
I'm sure you hated that scene.
Oh,
and then like Nana's like going Ringu on us,
right?
And like crawling through the basement like very rapidly, almost seemingly like backwards, like contortionist backwards, like Linda Blair going down the stairs backwards type things. But
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Right. Yeah, and then they finally escape, and she comes out and she's like, ha ha, that was fun. And then just like runs away, but her skirt is like tucked into her belt and her ass is hanging out.
Yeah, and she kind of does that running throughout the house a little bit too.
Right.
I think, okay, something's really off here.
Right.
And they talk to their, like some people from the therapy group show up. And like, well, we're just here to speak to them. They missed their meeting. We don't know what's going on. We don't make sure they're okay because they're old. No, they're not here. Oh, okay. I'll just tell them whoever I am said hi and come check in.
Also,
Pop Pop.
well, just an aside is that the camera that's on the computer they use to Skype their mom, Nana accidentally puts like
batter.
biscuit batter on it so that they can't use the camera.
Correct.
Just as an aside.
Yes. So they have some Skype calls. She's like, I wish I could see you. Blah blah blah. Pop Pop clearly gets confused. He thinks he's dressing up for a party. There's no party, and you can start seeing a very rapid decline. I'd say their mental well-being and cognitive abilities by Wednesday.
Yeah, no, I mean, it happens very fast. It becomes very clear that these people are not in best shape and should not be taking care of children for any length of time, especially not an entire week.
Right, and they go, okay, the brother goes, I want to put the camera in the living room next to this owl. And she goes, no, you can't do it. It's invasion of privacy. Then just more weird stuff happens at night. And they go, okay, we're going to do that. And essentially, Nana takes the camera and just kind of goes like Michael Myers on, like she tries to go Michael Myers on their ass. Like she grabs the camera, grabs a big butcher knife, and is just kind of like paranormal activity standing outside their door trying to get to them.
Yeah.
With a butcher knife. And they see that, yeah, we need to leave. Fair point.
Yeah, and that was Friday. They were supposed to leave on Saturday, and this is on Friday.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we're trying to tell our mom we need to do, something about this. They cleaned the batter off the camera. They have a Skype telling our mom, we gotta get out of here. And this is when you find out those aren't her parents. And like those aren't Nana and Pop Pop.
Right.
I don't know who these people are. And so, calling cops, their signal gets lost. She's trying to call the cops along the way, and she's many, many hours away from this farm in Philadelphia.
Yeah, outside of Philadelphia. Do they actually say how far outside of Philadelphia it is? I'm sure they do.
Like, knowing his logic, 2 miles.
Right, yeah.
So I go, okay, we just gotta kind of pretend until people come and get us. What else are we supposed to do? Try escape and all that stuff. So they played a board. They started playing Yahtzee, and they started really going off the rails. Nana and Pop Pop. So this is how you play. You're not playing Yahtzee right. He gets angry. They find their dead grandparents in the basement. And they're just trying to escape. And Pop Pop, essentially the daughter gets Nana, and the boy tries to stand up for Pop Pop. There's this whole story about why he's concerned the dad was nice when he left, because when he was 8, he froze at a football game and just stood there. And when he kind of froze with trying to confront Pop Pop to the point where he got the adult diaper smeared into his face, which is probably very dramatic.
That's disgusting. Well, the scene goes like, oh yeah, so I heard you're kind of afraid of germs and stuff, right? Like, and he literally just slaps him in the face with this diaper. It's so gross.
Yes. And then Nana is confronted by the daughter. She, starts banging her head against a mirror on a dresser, and she stabs Nana a few times with a broken piece of glass. And then she goes to try to help out her brother with Pop Pop, and Pop Pop seemingly pretty strong for an elderly guy. And, and then she goes, hey, I can't do this. And then the brother finally unfreezes. He's like, I didn't freeze this time. Just essentially take out Pop Pop. And then the police arrive, and you get a little more backstory. Like, you see that this elderly couple were patients of their actual grandparents, and they just wanted to be grandparents before they got in trouble. Like, there was illusion the entire time, like, oh, this is our last chance to do this, like, before ... they get caught.
Right. Well, yeah, it was the old lady, she had 2 children, and she had this delusion that, like, aliens lived in this pond, and that if she put her children in the pond and drowned them there, that they would go to sleep and then go to a different planet.
Correct.
And so that's what
Pop 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 had this vision of some like white, fluffy unicorn type rat at the factory he worked, and he got fired because he kept saying that it was there with like yellow eyes or something like that. So what we're seeing throughout this entire thing is them off their meds.
Well, yeah, but basically, yeah, they kept hearing, the real Pop and Nana talking about how excited they were to meet their grandkids who they hadn't seen ever. And so then the fake Pop basically said, well, fake Nana needs to experience being a grandmother one more time in her life. That they need to do this. So they essentially killed them to give her a second chance at being a grandma, even though the first time she killed her kids and this time she was trying to kill them again.
Yes. Yeah. And then it ends with the elixir working and the mother kind of regretting. You find out that she just kind of left, that they're cursing, and that she slapped her mother and that her dad hit her, and then she left. Because she's with this gorgeous 10-year-old man, older man. She ran away.
10 years older, not 10-year-old man. 10 years older man.
So, yeah, like I said, this is my first time watching it. It was better than I expected it to be quite honest.
Oh, it was.
I was not expecting much. And I don't believe M. Night made an appearance in this movie.
He did.
Did he?
Yeah, he was the jeez, hold on. I think
I think you're thinking of Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't recall seeing him in this in any way, shape, or form. I expect him to be like a train conductor or something, but
right. No,
I don't recall him in this.
Yeah, you're right. I think I might be thinking of the other one.
Yeah. But I mean, this actually worked. The creepiness level was there for Nana and Pop. I think those two people did a fantastic job in this movie.
Yeah, they did. And again, I watched this movie because I was shocked I had multiple people at this time tell me it was good. And I was like, it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, right? And they're like, no, really, it's good. And like, at this point, I was like, I will never again watch a movie from M. Night Shyamalan. Because I could not stand the last few movies that he made. Most of them I didn't even bother with because I'm like, no, I'm not even going to bother with this stuff. But this one, people, again, multiple people told me it was good, and I actually looked up reviews, and people were saying it was good. I'm like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 minute. And so I actually watched it, and I was like, oh, all right, that's not bad. I wouldn't say it's good, but it's decent. It's a decent movie.
But it's on his better end.
Oh yes, for him, yes, it's great. For him, it's a great movie. For compared to the rest of the world of movies, it's a decent movie.
Oh yeah. And like I said, I didn't watch this until this past weekend, and this has been out for 7 years, 7.5.
Yeah, no, yeah, I watched it right around when it first came out. Well, I mean, obviously I didn't watch it in the theater, but I watched it when it came out on video, very soon after it came out on video.
At this time, I was past the whole camera thing, found footage, documentary, and I was over M. Night, so obviously I waited 7.5 years for this.
Oh, I mean, it's very fair. I mean, I was going to pass, right? Multiple people kept telling me it was good, and I was like, there's no way.
I mean, I didn't know you then when this came out.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone that watched this that said it was good. So I didn't have anyone telling me that movie was old for me that everyone said to watch. But no, I'm like, okay, and I watched it. I'm like, I can see. I'm kind of glad I didn't watch it then because I would have had that spark of hope that maybe he'll be good again.
Right.
But that spark was already dead, so I'm like, I'm glad it didn't ignite that spark.
Like I said, it was dead for me, but like I said, I talked to multiple people who kept blowing on the coals, and I'm like, I don't think it's gonna happen. But they did. So
no, but it turns out to be in his catalog of horror movies, because I think he has other movies that are amazing that aren't horror that we may never get to on this podcast. Like Unbreakable,
right?
And Split, Those were fantastic movies.
Split has some pretty heavy horror elements. We might be able to get that at some point. Unbreakable really doesn't. I mean, I can't see that one.
No, or Glass.
Yeah.
We may do Split as a one-off with other movies that deal with DID or stuff like that.
Right.
We'll discuss that at some point. But no, so yeah, I mean, those were my first thoughts. Is like, I'm glad I watched it. I wasn't mad I watched it. Let's go with that. Highlights though, like I said, it's Nana and Papa. Like, they did such an amazing job playing with all those things. Like, you really felt like they were off their meds for a couple days and they were already a little crazy, but this just put them over the edge. And I think the execution of that decline was expertly done. I don't know who these actors are. Don't recall seeing them in anything ever.
The guy I have seen in things, I don't remember what they are, but he is familiar. I have seen him in things before.
And obviously Catherine Hahn, but she was great in it too. But I don't think he was. I think what made this movie work is he was relying on big names to do this movie.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Catherine Hahn is a decent big name, but she's not really involved in most of the movie. She's kind of like a side character for the most part.
Right. She was a side character like Agatha a bit.
Yeah.
So Agatha all along.
Correct.
But she was great in it. So, but like I said, I think at this point in time, he realized big name actors are not coming to see me to see my movies for some reason. So I have to work with what I got, and he did it well. That he wasn't relying then solely on the twist and the actors in it to bring people to his movie. He went back to, like, I would say pure horror in a way.
Right.
For him. What about you? What about highlights for you?
Yeah, I mean, highlights would be about the same. I mean, I really liked Catherine Hahn. I mean, yeah, she wasn't in it for very long, but she did a great job while she was in it. But yeah, no, I mean, it was a believable type thing. And that's what kind of builds up to it is like, something weird happens and you're like, oh, that's bizarre. But then like they kind of explain it away and you're like, okay, that's a plausible explanation. You know, I mean, like, you know, I can see that being happen, you know, and then it happens again, a plausible explanation. Oh, okay. And then it happens again, plausible explanation. All right. And like these are starting to pile up. You're like, yeah, there might be plausible explanation, but there's a lot of these, right? And so then it gets to the point
up like pop-pops.
Right. right. And so it's like, you know, and even the kids are like, all right, something is weird. Like, yeah, these explanations are positive, right? Like we understand, like, okay, we get it. But like, it's starting to get to the point where like, okay, something crazy is going on. But yeah, I think that's just well done. I think it's the kind of build up is done well in this movie. I did like that at all. But again, you know, a lot of that has to do with the performances, like you said before. So I'll agree with that. But yeah, I think that build up was just good.
Low points, obviously not enough Catherine Hahn.
I will say the low points is that kid rapping. Dear God, it was so cringy bad. Like it was hurting me. I was like imploding inside with cringe, like listening to this. I'm like, can you please make it stop? Because he does it like 3 times in the movie, like maybe
and
more.
They end the movie with it. I know.
It's like, oh Jesus.
The credits are going with him rapping.
Yeah, it's like the worst rapping. Like, okay, like he's not even like really rhyming. I'm not a big rap fan anyway, but he's not even like really rapping. It's just bad. It is so bad.
I have a dog who ate a log in the fog.
Oh yeah, it's like seriously, dude.
That made me question. I'm like, all right, am I the cantankerous old man now?
I know you're not.
I'm like, is this movie just not for me? Like, is it me that's wrong? No, it's the children.
No, but if it's okay, I can appreciate good hip hop. I mean, there's stuff that I like. I'm not going to say the majority of it I like. I do not. But there's stuff I like. I can appreciate it when it's good. And this is just not. It is not that at all. It is painful. It is cringy, and he just can't wait for it to stop. So I would, by far, that's the low point.
That's good. The real question is this something he brought to M. Night, or is this something M. Night gave to him?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, whoever it is needs to be slapped, but
whatever it is, yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, like, it felt like something he would bring up. It's like, hey, I'm a rapper. Can you incorporate this in my character?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know who brought it up, but whoever brought it up needs to be slapped and taught a lesson.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it just reminded me of George from Scary Movie 3 when he was supposed to be Eminem in 8 Mile. His bad rap.
Right.
At the beginning of it. Yeah. So, the twist. Let's get into the twists now. Rant time, right? Mm-hmm. Twist, obviously, it's not their Nana and Pop-Pop.
Right.
And the explanation of why no one ever sees them that entire time got a little far-fetched for me. A little far-fetched.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's very fair. I mean, that, like somebody who, again, volunteers at places every Tuesday and Thursday. And from what it seems, from what the people that visited, they haven't been there in a couple of weeks. I mean, right. Yeah, if they hadn't physically seen them in a couple of weeks, they would have called the cops to do a wellness check or something. Right. I mean, like, they show up and there's a couple of kids living in the house, and like, they wouldn't just believe children they've never met before in their lives that, also two patients are missing. Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like this, there's just weirdness going on here. I mean, they would have called the cops to do a wellness check. There would have been more going on. Because, I mean, again, if they were like hermits that didn't talk to anybody in the neighborhood and stuff like that, yeah, very, very possible that it could have been a long time.
Respected members of the community.
Right. Well, yes. But if they volunteered at this place, right? Like, I mean, everyone knows them. They were there every Tuesday and Thursday. They had their own counseling session, their own counseling jobs and stuff. Like, they were very involved. So, like, again, with the guy coming to show up saying, hey, they didn't show up, like, what's going on? This seems like they would have called a lot earlier, I think.
Yes, it seemed their explanations of why we didn't get that twist ruined for us was very, very thin.
Right.
Like, it seemed ridiculous to the point they're just making shit up as to why no one knows this beforehand.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it stretches believability. Yes, I agree. I mean, it really does. Like, in real life, that there's no way that it would have taken that long, especially when they went to go visit them in their house and there's two people they've never met before. Even if they are children, if there's two people they've never met before living in someone else's house and they're not there, yeah, something would have, they would have called the cops. That's the small town stuff. They would have.
Very small town. And to that, they would know this, that grandchildren would be appearing, and you'd think they'd want to show off their grandkids to the therapy place,
right?
Too,
or like,
right?
Okay, like the doctor guy, like, they went for a walk. Like, how long does it take them to take a walk? Because I'm sure they've done it multiple times. 30 minutes. Like, I'll just wait. Right. That most likely would have
the
happened.
Normal thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But they was there to gossip about things that happened. I'm assuming the gossip of the turmoil that was going on were the two patients going missing.
Right.
But clearly no one cared about these two patients going missing.
Apparently not.
Like, clearly know that they're mentally unwell.
Right.
And then to not try to find them makes zero sense.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Now, the twist of it not, so does the twist ruin the movie? It doesn't. The flimsy way to not spoil a twist does.
Yeah, but I get the first time you watch it, you kind of you forgive it a bit, right? You obviously know something's going on. I mean, you obviously know something is happening, but you don't know what it is. I mean, you can't.
Yeah,
you obviously think something's going on, whether they're probably just bad people hiding something, right, or something like that. But you don't assume that it's a different people altogether.
Yeah, I mean, I knew the twist before watching this movie because, like I said, 7.5 years since it came out. I knew the twist, and maybe if I knew it going into without knowing the twist, it'd been different for me. But maybe I was just looking for these things, and it just didn't make sense along the way.
Like I said, it doesn't. But it did
see it better on the first.
Yeah, watch. It doesn't step beyond. Like most of his other movies, he takes that step beyond. You know what I mean? Like there's a logical end to something. There's a fuzzy end to something where you're like, all right, whatever. I'll give it to you for the sake of, suspension of disbelief. And then there's that step beyond. And he, like almost all of his movies, he takes that step beyond where it's just like completely blows my mind out. Like, nope, there's no possible way this would ever happen. Like I can't get past it, like the signs and aliens not having any kind of weapons or nets. Like it's a step too far. I can't believe it. I can't get my head around it. This one doesn't take that step. Does it take a step into the fuzzy? Sure. Yeah, it does. But it doesn't take that step beyond it. And I think that's like when he does not take that step beyond, he can make a good movie, or, not a great movie, but a good movie. And they're just thinking too often steps past it. And in this one, at least he does not.
That's a very fair point. So, I mean, I don't think we have much ranting to do about this movie, which is really surprising.
Yeah, no, I mean, this one is fine. I mean, again, we brought up the things that there is to complain about, but it's not enough to bash the movie. It's just, fuzzy things.
Right. I think and let's get into our out of 10s. I think it's definitely rewatchable. Maybe not a lot of times, but I give this 7.5 out of 10. What about you?
I didn't like it that much. Again, it's good for his movies. I mean, I watched it a second time. I don't think it was as good a second time. Knowing what's happening while you're watching it, it's a little less interesting because you're not invested into finding out what's happening. You already know, like why these things are happening. So it's a little less of an impact second time, but it's still not bad. So I would go 5.5. 5.5 brain cells lost out of 10. Yes.
Okay. So this, because it's my first time, maybe I said if I had to rewatch it again, it probably would do.
Yeah. No, like I said, the first time I watched it, I would have to add at least a point probably. But the second time, it fades.
Okay. That's perfectly acceptable. I mean, that's the problem with twist.
Right.
Other than you want to watch and see the signs for things, for the twist, see if you can figure it out and see all the little gotchas in there.
Right.
Which a good storyteller would do.
Correct.
Like Brian Johnson.
In some of his movies, yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So, why don't you bring us into the next one on our list? Old.
Okay, so Old. When did this movie just came out in the last couple of years? Yeah.
2021.
Yeah. So
I want to say.
Yeah. I can't say. I knew it was during pandemic lockdown at some point. But I luckily, even though I was like desperate for things to watch at that time, I didn't watch this movie because again, I was like, no, I can't do it. Like even after the visit where I was like, okay, it was slightly positive. Old, I heard a lot of not good things about it. I was like, no, I'm just steering away, not going to do it. But anyway, I'll hold back until rant time. Okay, so recap. So essentially, we are introduced to a family, a French mom, a Spanish dad, and then two American children. And they essentially get a great deal on a resort stay in some tropical island somewhere. It's not described as to where, but it's tropical, obviously.
Isla Nublar. It's
right. Exactly. Doesn't matter. So they get picked up in this like shuttle bus and they go there and like, there's all these like servants that like, greet them and they have like little special drinks made for them and they have like, like a fancy buffet for the kids and all, it's like a very, very nice place. Right. So they go into their rooms. Their rooms are gorgeous, beautiful. And they love this place. It's a great place. Like they basically, stay the night, they go down for breakfast and then the head guy, I don't know, what do you call him? The concierge, right? Of the hotel, he comes up to him and he's like, no, I don't tell this to everybody, but there's a really fancy hidden beach, that's beautiful and that you guys should go check it out. So he convinces that family, and they're like, okay, yeah, let's do that. That sounds great. So they go to this like shuttle, to drive them down to this hidden beach, where they find out that they're not going alone. There's also another family with another, mom and dad and child that's going with them. They all drive down to this like special hidden beach. They have to, walk most of it on their own, but, they're given all kinds of supplies like lawn chairs and picnic baskets of food and all kinds of stuff. Basically, like,
M. Night Shyamalan was very courteous.
Yes.
He was the
driver of the shuttle bus. Yes. So they go down there. And it's like this beautiful, you have to go through this like thin canyon, to get to this beach. And the beach it's everything they promised. It's beautiful, beautiful beach. So they get to this beach. They find out there's another couple, that's there. A man and a woman who also are there from the hotel. There's also a guy just kind of creepily sitting in the back of this like beach area. Who the girl recognizes, the little girl recognizes.
Mid-size sedan.
Mid-size sedan, the rapper. I mean, as a quick aside here, if that isn't like a boomer version of what they think a rapper name is, I don't know what is. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yes, he's a rapper, and he's sitting there waiting. And earlier, like he was with a woman who like kind of jumped into the water and swam away. And he's just waiting for her. Anyway, so everybody's just kind of going around. The one family's kind of disappointed because they thought they were going to be the only family there. But everybody just kind of like, settles in, sets up their beach blankets and everything. And they're just kind of hanging out. So they're kind of, paddling around in the water. The kids are paddling around. And they find a dead body.
Gasp.
Yeah, gasp.
Sorry.
Terrifying. So they bring this dead body to shore, and it is the woman that mid-sized sedan was waiting for. He said that she went out to go for a quick swim, and he was waiting for her to come back, and she didn't. Apparently, she died out there. So immediately, the doctor dad, I'll call him Doctor Dad, who has like the influencer plastic surgery wife, right?
Yeah, it's fair way to
right. Yeah, she's like if you're very, very shallow and very, very like material oriented, right? That's how her character is presented to you. Yes, with a calcium deficiency, which she said at breakfast she needed some kind of calcium blast smoothie or something.
Yep.
Anyway, so.
That was her special drink.
Yes, that was her special drink. Was a calcium blast smoothie or something like that. Anyway, so as they're like looking at this dead body, trying to figure out like how she died or what happened or whatever. So immediately, Dr. Dad blames the rapper guy.
Yep.
Yeah, you kind of get like racist vibes from him. I mean. Very strong, yeah, like very strong racist vibes from him. Like he is the boomer, right? I mean, he is like,
oh yeah.
I mean, he's doesn't trust him at all. He immediately jumps to he must have killed her. So he's like insisting that they like call the police and they hold him and they blame him and all this kind of stuff. So they're all like trying to kind of figure out what to do, and they're all like discussing amongst themselves while this body is underneath a blanket. And so they go and talk to the people who weren't actually there. They tell them about this body under the blanket and blah blah blah, what they're going to do. They end up going back over to the body to look at it, and they pull the blanket back, and now it's like dust. It's like a skeleton with dust.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so they realize that like she like very rapidly decayed. And they're like, oh, this is odd. This is really weird. Like I think they specifically said it normally takes 8 years for this to happen. Like, of course, they knew exactly how much time it would take for a human body to deteriorate.
Well, Dr. Dad.
Well, it wasn't even him that said it. It was the French mom who was like, she was like a museum curator. And they like tried to like talk like she was like Indiana Jones that knows like archaeology or something. Whatever. Yes. Well, they talked her up like she was an anthropologist when she was a museum curator. Whatever. I don't know. She apparently held all the science degrees that have to do with museums.
Yeah.
So, so they determined that, oh yeah, she rapidly decayed. Oh, maybe, something in the water, we don't know what's going on. So they're all kind of discussing amongst themselves. And then they basically go to like, oh, our children, we kind of push them away to get away from this body. Oh, I wonder what they're doing. So they go to like check out their children, and oh my God, their children are old now.
How old are you? Hey.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, yeah. Right. So they rapidly age. So like the girl grows from like 12 to like what, like I don't know, 18, and the boy goes from like 6 to like I don't know, 12 or 13 or something. So they age approximately 6-7 years, right? And so they're all like, "Who are you?" Like, "Oh, I don't know." Like, "Oh, don't you know me? I'm your kid." So they convince them that they're their kid, but now they realize that something is happening here, so where like things are progressing faster, right? So they realize, okay, the daughter and the son are older. The other little girl that's the child of Dr. Dad and influencer lady. She got older too, because I think she was like 6, and so now she's like 12. Yeah. She's the same age as the boy. So they get older, so they're all trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening. The Dr. Dad had his mom with him, who was like an older lady. And she just like,
because he was older,
right? Too. Yeah, he was an older. Yeah, he was like Silver Fox, older guy. And
late 50s, early 60s.
Right. And then, so she is, at first has like, oh, my heart hurts. And then they go check on her and she's totally fine. And then they walk away for like 3 seconds and then she dies. And they go back and like, oh no, she's dead. So then they like just kind of push her off to the side and she's never mentioned again. But yeah, she's the first to go because she was the oldest. And then, as they're trying to figure out what's going on with the children, they go back and the line is, "Oh no, the dog is dead," because they had a little dog too, and the dog apparently died. So the dog is gone, and so now they're all like, "Okay, something is definitely happening here. It appears that time is rapidly accelerating in this time period." And then they all realize that the adults there are starting to get like minor wrinkles and crow's feet and stuff like that. And that's where they make a comment about the black folks in the black folks in the group are like, oh, now they wish they were black because they're not, the black people aren't wrinkling.
Because at this point in time, mid-sized sedan had been there for at least like 12 or 18 hours.
Yeah, I mean, he was
almost a day.
Yeah, he was waiting there for a while before they got there. But yeah, he looks exactly the same.
Yes. Yeah.
So we realized that the couple, the guy is a nurse, and his name is I don't know, like I thought his name was Jerry, but then they were calling him Jarin. Like he's got like a weird name. I think I'm just gonna call him Jerry, but I think
let's call him Jerry.
Yeah, but I think they were saying his name was like Jarin or Jarin or I don't know, some bizarre thing. But anyway, his wife is a psychologist, and she has epilepsy. And they're also like talking, because they're kind of at this point they're all talking about things that were wrong with them, right? Like we find out that the French mom had some kind of tumor. We find out that we already know influencer lady had some kind of calcium deficiency.
Bone-itis.
Bone-itis, right? And then we find out that the psychologist lady had epilepsy.
And Dr. Dad has dementia.
Well, yeah, but we don't know.
He's starting. We knew he's starting to get it. Like he's early onset.
I don't think they said that. I don't think they said that until after this next part, because he started getting goofy, and they were like, "What's going on with him?" And then I think she had to tell them, but he didn't admit it when everybody else was talking about their stuff. Anyway, they're figuring it out, but she's like, it's weird that like we're aging, but like I haven't had a seizure. Like she had a seizure earlier in the restaurant, so like they happen often enough. And she's like, well, if this is true, then if this time period is going on as it is, it's been 7 years and I haven't had a seizure. Like that's crazy, right? And then as they're talking about that, French lady like falls over in pain. And they look and they see like, the tumor in her side is like grown to like huge proportions.
Like softball size.
Right.
It's a tumor.
Well, yeah, first he was poking it. He's like, oh, it's like a golf ball. And then like a second later, oh, it's like a softball. And like, it was like rapidly moving. Anyway.
Right.
So yeah, so they're like, oh, well, you know, I can do the surgery, but I don't have any tools. They're like, oh, here's a rusty pocket knife.
Yes.
And he's like, okay. So he just like cuts her open with this rusty pocket knife, and the wound heals back like immediately, and then it has a scar.
Like she's Wolverine.
Right. Yeah. And they're like, oh, this is crazy. So like, you know, whatever is happening to us at a cellular level. Like things are, you know, moving fast. So essentially they figure out they have to cut her open, and then they have to hold the wound open.
With their
with their hands that have been playing in the sand and dirt and eating food with their bare hands up until this point. Anyway, so they do that, and he manages to cut out the tumor, which is like this, I don't know, giant watermelon-sized tumor. And they just cut it out, you know, without issue with a pocket knife. And it closes back up immediately. She's totally fine. You know, she wakes up. Oh, I feel much better. So essentially at this point, they're like, okay, like things are happening. Like we need to get out of here. So they try to go back up the canyon, and whoever tries to walk back up the canyon, the couple people try, they basically get like crazy big headaches, and it forces them back out. So where either the people have to go in and drag them back out, or they kind of wander out on their own. So basically like it seems like they can't leave. So they're trying to figure out another way to try to leave, whether that's like, because there's huge cliffs. Like there's the little canyon they came in, huge cliffs, and then the only other way out would be like to swim around the cliffs. So they're trying to sort of figure out a way to get around this stuff. And around this time, there's another kind of age jump. So where but it only affects the two youngest. So they go from like 12 to like 18.
Yeah.
The other daughter stays the same age. She doesn't age at all. But anyway, so they end up both being 18. And while they're like trying to argue and trying to find a way off the island, they apparently start exploring each other's bodies, and end up, doing the deed, right? So
they were just playing.
Yeah, they were just playing. So then they go walking back to them, you know, like holding hands, and she is very obviously getting more pregnant as she gets closer. So she's like, by the time she gets close to them, she is like fully like 9 months pregnant.
Yes.
So she immediately like starts going into labor. So they're like, oh, I guess this kid is happening. And then they just like cut away and go to the other side of the beach and like, you know, talk to like, oh, the other people were like trying to escape and trying to like, oh, maybe I should swim around. Maybe I should do these other things.
Because Jerry is a good swimmer.
Yeah, because Jerry's a good swimmer. So maybe I can be able to swim around. Maybe I can do all that kind of stuff. And then they eventually pan back over to where the baby is. To go back over to check out the baby. The baby has been born, and they put down the baby for, 30 seconds. And the baby immediately dies. And the way that they say it is they say like the baby died from lack of attention.
Yes.
So the baby dies from lack of attention from being placed down on a towel for 30 seconds. So of course, the girl is upset, and of course, the boy is upset because that was like their kid. So they kind of become distraught. The daughter basically decides that she's going to try to climb out. She tries to climb up the cliff. She gets close to the top. She blacks out like everybody does in the canyon. She falls to her death.
Yes.
And that's it. She's gone. And at this point, it starts to become nighttime. So they're all just kind of like, camping out with the fire, like, trying to decide what they're going to do. Like, oh, if we just go to sleep for the night, when we wake up in the morning, we're going to be age like, decades.
Right.
So they're like, a lot of us might not make it to the morning because we're aging so rapidly now that, we might not, we'll die of old age before the morning comes. Dr. Dad at this point, after the surgery, he was like stuck on trying to think of the movie, that Marlon Brando and, who was the other person? Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando. He's like, they were in a movie together. What movie was it? What was the name of the movie? And he's stuck on it. And he keeps like repeating it over and over again. And that's when they say like, oh, he's got, early onset dementia. That's why we had to take this vacation to kind of give him a break, Anyway, it seems to be progressing. So as this nighttime comes and they light up the fire, he's like, again, stuck on this thing. And he kind of wanders away from the fire. And then before they figure out what's going on, he essentially takes out the pocket knife and keeps stabbing mid-sized sedan enough to kill him, which after we've seen the wound immediately close up after like cutting the wound open, I don't know how that would be possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We'll save that.
I know. I'm just saying, like, whatever. But it happens. In the movie, it happens. Mid-sized sedan is murdered from the knife. At this point, they realize that Dr. Dad is dangerous, right? But they kind of don't do much about that. They just kind of like let him kind of wander around. They just like keep their eye on him, I guess.
Right.
But everybody's getting older. And then the kids, the boy and the girl that are left kind of go off and, go in these caves to try to find a way out. And the influencer lady follows them down there. She's now like a hunchback.
Like, my bonitis.
Yeah, she's like a hunchback, like old witch looking lady. Like, oh, I didn't get my calcium. Now I'm like, I'm all hunched over and I'm like a witch. And she's like chasing him around. And there's this weird, bizarre thing where she's like spinning around in a circle, but like breaking her bones while she's doing so. So then they show like all of her limbs, like all like broken in like a spiral, like a tornado almost. And then, she dies from like, I guess broken bones or something. I don't know.
Well, like I said, it's my bonitis from Futurama, where the 80s guy came into the future. I regret not curing my bonitis. Or she got vector. One of those two.
Yeah, it's a bizarre scene, but yeah, she dies from her bones breaking, apparently, and they break a lot. So, and then they run back to the camp, and then that's it. Then now at this point, it's Jerry had swam out to try to to find a way out. He died. He drowned. And his body washes back up. The lady, his wife, eventually does have a seizure that kills her, but it would have been like she was getting visibly old at that point. So it would have been, I don't know, 20 years or something. It would have lasted.
Something like that, yeah. Essentially, she had like 20 years without a seizure.
Right, yeah. So she dies, but, she had not had a seizure for a very long time. So now we're basically left with French mom, Spanish dad, their two kids, and crazy Dr. Dad.
Yes.
So French mom and Spanish dad are getting like older. And I guess there's like, they were talking earlier where they were like planning on getting a divorce. And this trip was like their last trip together as a family before they were going to separate.
Right.
And I guess they decided that they were going to love each other after all. And they were going to stay together for the kids, and they kind of like cuddle each other, and then they just like die of old age together.
Right.
What does happen?
Well, before that, Dr. Dad attacks him. He gets stabbed with.
Right. Okay, yeah. Like he attacks them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, if this time thing works the way we think it does, we'll stab you with this rusty knife, and you'll die from rust." And so they stab him with the rusty knife, and they show like the infection like rapidly traveling through his body, and then he dies. And then they like curl up by the fire, and they decide that they love each other, and then they basically both slowly die of old age.
Yep.
So now all we're left with is the two kids. So they basically fast forward to morning. They are now like aged again, and they're like 30-ish, right? Something like that.
Oh, 50.
No, maybe towards the end, but at this point they're like 30. Yes. Okay. So they're basically like trying to figure out what's going on, and they're like, "Oh, didn't your little friend give you a secret decoder message?" Like they had met a friend in the hotel that was like a child of one of the workers. And he had given them messages. They were like friends. They would send messages back and forth. And he decoded the message that he just now remembered that he had. And it said like, my dad doesn't like the coral. And they realized that there was coral out in the cove. And they're like, oh, I guess he doesn't like it because he sent us here to die. So he must not like the coral because it can save us, which is a hell of a stretch. But they decide that the coral is the thing that's going to save them. So they swim out to the coral, and they decide that they're going to swim through a hole in the coral. So he's swimming through the coral. She immediately gets tangled in the coral, which is the weirdest looking coral I've ever seen. It looks like coral made of like floppy dildos. I don't know how else to describe it, but that's what it looks like. Like there's like coral is hard. Like coral is like rocks. Like you have to be careful not to touch it because you can cut your foot open. It's so sharp and hard that it will cut your skin easily by touching it. And like they're literally, it's like flopping around like it's a sea anemone. Like I don't think whoever designed this didn't know what coral looked like, because it literally just looks like floppy dildos. Anyway, so she's like, her shirt is like stuck on this floppy dildo thing. They're like messing around with it or whatever, and then it just kind of cuts away. And it cuts away back to the hotel where now the twist comes out to where this is a pharmaceutical company that knows about this beach, and they use it specifically to they invite people to the island with medical conditions. They give them medicine in their special cocktails that they're given. They give them medicine that they then lure them out to the beach, and they watch them over time to see if this medicine will cure their issues.
Right.
So they're basically like talking about, oh, great job, everybody. You know, the epilepsy medicine worked. She went 20 years without a seizure. That's a great thing. Mid-sized sedan had a blood clot issue that they were trying to sue, and it's like, oh, that was a shame that he got murdered before we could find out about that. I'm like, oh, I sure. I guess. And they apparently, like, the other people with medical issues were there specifically to test medicines. That's the whole point of this. That's the twist. So they basically are then showing a new family or group of people are arriving at the resort, to where they go through the same rigmarole, that the same servants open up the door, greet everybody. They go to bring out their special drinks, and then somebody smashes the drinks on the ground and tells them, don't do anything they say. They're evil, and they're trying to kill you. And then we see that it's the daughter and the son, and they survived the whole thing. The coral did save them, and now they're going to I guess
live with their aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
Talk about your 50-year-old nephew.
Right. But yeah, so they're basically like going to bring them to justice, because they survived and they caught, they caught them red-handed or whatever. And that's it. And yeah, that's the end of the movie.
So what are your first thoughts?
I mean, I tried to hold it back. I couldn't hold it back completely. Honestly, while I was watching this movie, I was going, are these people competing to be the worst actor in this movie? And it really felt like they were, it felt like they were like, oh, that was bad, but watch this. Like they just keep progressively getting worse as it goes along. I mean, everybody is so ridiculously bad. Like, you thought The Happening was bad. This is like times that by 10. That's how bad this is. Like, and not only is it bad, but like the cinematography is bad. Everything is bad. I mean, it's like when things are happening, the camera is not even focusing on what's happening. Like when he.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, I think M. Night fell asleep and woke up. I got the camera fell into the sand and is pointed up at like the sky with a glimpse of a head in the corner. Right. That's good enough.
Right. Yeah. Movie. Like while things are happening, like literally the camera's like focusing off in the distance, like getting further and further away from people. Like I said, everybody like conveniently walks away from things that are happening and they come back after they're already done. Right. I mean, there's so many like just ridiculous thing. I think that there was so many scenes in this movie where I laughed out loud Not because they were supposed to be funny, because they were so badly done that it is hilarious. It's hilariously bad. Like when they go back over and they're like, "Oh no, the dog has died." They're all focusing on their faces and they're all looking down at the supposedly a dead dog, but they never look down at all. The camera never looks down.
Correct. Yes.
And again, there's a an old saying that they say in not only in books but also in movies and stuff. They say, "Show, don't tell." Right? That's what makes a good movie. This movie literally does the opposite. It tells you that all these things are happening, but it shows you absolutely nothing.
It's slightly off screen.
Right. Yeah. It's like everything always happens off screen, and then you're just catching it. Like you're constantly like running back and trying to catch up to something that has already happened. It is so bizarre. Again, just while watching this, I was like, I think these people know how bad this movie is, and they're just trying to like out ham each other. They're just trying to like do this so badly. They're like, we can do this. We can do this. Like, again, like you have the main people in this story, right? You have the French mom and the Spanish dad that are supposed to be this core relationship, right? You're supposed to be able to feel the nuance of them trying to separate, but then discovering that they still love each other. And then at the end, rediscovering their love and they love each other. Now, both of them have such thick accents, you can't understand what they're saying. And that's fine. There's a lot of people with accents that do great in movies, but if you're going to have the core of your movie be two people with such thick accents, they probably don't even know what they're saying to each other. And they're not even the same accent. It's different. Like the mom is like this heavy French accent and the dad is like this heavy Spanish accent. And like, I don't know how they communicated at all, honestly. It's all over the place. And this movie is, again, this is maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Honestly. The first thoughts. This is what I was thinking as I was watching the movie. Like, this has to be one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Fair. Yeah, this movie is what people are saying, that people are like, oh, M. Night's back. I go, really? Are you sure about
movie?
that?
Like I said, The Visit was a pleasant surprise. I was like, okay, that movie, okay, surprisingly an okay movie for M. Night Shyamalan. And then, I mean, this is obviously wasn't the next one I watched after that, but I was like, my God, what has happened to that? Like, how does he go from such highs to such lows? I don't understand it.
Right. And my first thought, honestly, after I watch it, go, I can't wait for the riff tracks to come out.
I don't even think I could do it. I don't want to be a part of this.
It makes it a lot better. I can tell you, it makes it a lot better. But I'm like, that's my first thought. I'm like, I can't wait for someone just to tear this movie apart because it's that bad.
It is, but it is so comically bad. Again, but it's not like so bad it's good. It's not that at all. It's just a bad presentation from beginning to end. There's nothing fun about this movie.
Correct. So highlights for you then, huh?
Honestly, I don't even know if there is one. I don't think there is. I mean, okay, I would say if I had to give it a highlight, I would say Dr. Dad did a fair job. Okay, not good. I'm not going to say good. He did a fair job, and he did the best out of everyone, and his performance was fair.
Yeah, I'll go.
And I only think that because I watched Man in the High Castle and I liked his character in that show. And I think that's why I think he had a fair performance. I think someone who didn't see that show and doesn't like him as an actor or that character would probably just say he was bad as everybody else.
But the thing is, the teenage versions is the son from Hereditary, and he did fantastic in that movie.
Right.
The girl from Jojo Rabbit and Last Night in Soho did a fantastic job in both those movies. Right. It's, once again, clearly they need direction, and they didn't get it.
Well, yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, I mean, yeah, has proven time and time again that he could not direct his way out of a wet paper bag if his life depended on it.
Here's the twist. What if it wasn't paper? No, low points, though.
God, I mean, the whole movie, everything. Like, I mean, seriously, everything. But I mean, if I had to like specifically focus on it, I would say just the acting is so bad. Nothing is believable. Everyone is ridiculous. Everyone is trying to like out-suck each other. I don't understand. I imagine it was probably a fun film to make because, again, I think they were just trying to be as bad as possible. And I'm sure there's an interview somewhere where M. Night Shyamalan was saying that this was on purpose, just like you said with The Happening, which is garbage. It's just you made a bad movie.
Maybe what happens is he makes a good movie, and then he's like, you know what? I don't want to make movies anymore, so I'm going to put out the worst piece of shit I can. And they're like, oh, we'll give you more money to make a new one. Come on.
I don't know who keeps giving him money.
He funds these himself.
Oh, my God.
That was recently stated. He funds most of these movies out of pocket.
I'm not surprised because, I mean, everybody who's watched this movie is like, you want money to make a movie? No. No way.
Yeah. So let's get into this twist. Which this is, they said either trial 37 or 38, which means they've done this 37 other times to a large, at least 2 people. Right?
Right.
And so they've killed innocent people at this point in time.
Well, technically, they didn't kill them. Time killed them.
They put them
yes,
there.
no, yeah, I'm not. It's great. And I guess we left out there was also a pile of stuff on the beach showing that people had been there and time had passed. Like, again, the rusty knife that they used to kill people. There was like a bunch of old like kid toys and stuff and shit.
Right.
So there was like,
which means kids have been there.
Right.
And I get it. Maybe you could say this is a lure. This is a treatment center for all these conditions. And you can get people there. You don't have to keep saying kids out there, too.
Yeah, because, I mean, kids, if they're sick kids, I get that, right? You're trying to see if you can fix sick kids. But no, these are just normal, healthy children. Like, why would you do that?
It was just the mom. It was French mom.
Right.
They could have just put her out there and saying, we're doing this treatment. Oh, she had an accident.
Right. Something.
Right.
I don't know. It's
and let's talk about how we discussed this yesterday, the day before, how time in this particular spot works and what it affects and what it doesn't affect. Right? It affects yes. It affects living things. And we can go, okay, that's the rule that you set out this movie. This is the rule you have to follow. Do they follow it? No.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing that they talk about, right? They give them this basket full of food, right? Now,
yes.
They alluded to like, time happens to these things just as good. Like, again, like the baby died of not paying attention to it in like 30 seconds, which means that everyone is affected by time, right? Now,
yes.
As they say, I think it's 1 year every 30 minutes. So, how much food do you eat in a year?
They have to eat 2 years of food every hour.
Do you realize the ridiculous amount of you'd have to back up dump trucks of food into your mouth and I don't think you could eat fast enough to be able to keep yourself alive. Even though you're gobbling down like Crisco, you would still die of starvation because your body is going through food that fast.
And those kids would die of malnutrition.
Right. I mean, again, if there might be bending of the rules, but if you're literally saying the baby dies from no one paying attention to it in like less than 30 seconds, I don't see how the food aspect is. They only show people eating one time, and that was when she was pregnant. And she got scarfing down like potato salad. She got through her entire pregnancy with one fistful of pasta salad. There is no way in hell that child had enough energy and mass to be created from one fistful of pasta salad. Again, if you're going to make these ridiculous rules, at least follow them.
Right. But we're saying living thing, it's only affecting living cells. So that's what it's, hair doesn't grow, nails don't grow. They don't see that. Right.
Right. Well,
but when do we consider cells not living? A dog and people turn into bone. Food is the same thing. It was living. It's once again dead cells,
Right.
but from a living thing. So the food would have gone rotten before anything else.
Right. Again, they're playing very fast and loose with this. Again, the food was wrapped in some kind of weird like foil stuff. So like again,
maybe it's wrapped in the dildo leaf. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just saying the food was wrapped in like a weird foil stuff. Maybe that weird foil stuff preserves the food from this like time jump stuff.
Yes.
I don't know. Again, it still doesn't, make up for, you would have to eat that much food to survive for a year in 30 minutes. It's not possible. You can't do it. You would, like I said, you would literally die of starvation. Even if you were eating the most caloric rich food that you possibly could, you would still die of malnutrition because your body would not be able to process that much food to live, to have that much energy.
Right. Now, let's get to the other part. How did people die with stabby things and how they didn't die from stabby things?
I'm just saying, like, okay, like he went cut and then it went like that fast, right? That fast. So like it went from a full, like, I mean, we're talking all the way punctured into the body cavity, healing immediately in like what, less than 2 seconds?
Yes.
So like if you stabbed someone in the chest, by the time you pulled the blade out and prepared to stab again, it would already be healed.
Yes.
So yeah, you'd have a whole lot of scars in your chest, but you would not be able to kill someone with a knife.
Correct.
I mean, okay, maybe if you had a giant knife or like a sword, sure. Like if you could cut off like, half of their head or something, yeah, you probably could kill them. But like a pocket knife, there's no way. No. Even if you tried to saw through their neck to cut their head off, you still wouldn't be able to cut fast enough.
Correct. And then the Dr. Dad died of poisoning, rust poisoning, right? Mm-hmm. But all the nasty ass hands in the mom didn't cause any infection.
Right. I was saying, like, that's like the biggest thing is like, again, that's the modern medicine. Why people survive is because they stop infection, where they sanitize everything and they give you antibiotics and shit to make sure that, your body can fight off the stuff afterwards, even if something did happen. This, they're doing it like just fast and loose, bare hands and pocket knives, and everybody's totally fine. But you stab somebody with a rusty knife, and all of a sudden they get rust poisoning and die.
Yes,
which is ridiculous. I mean,
so this is the suspension of disbelief. We can go. These are your rules that you said exist in this spot. Cool. What were those rules again? I'm sorry. What did I say?
Well, okay,
that's what happened.
Here's another thing, right? What time do you think it was when they got to the beach?
I would say brunch time, so like 11 a.m.
Yeah, 10, 11, right? Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Well, okay, it was nighttime when the guy was going crazy, right? Dr. Dad?
Yes.
1 year every 30 minutes. Okay, so we'll say what? It's like, 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah, so let's say it's 12 hours.
Right. So just 12 hours.
So it's 24
So the guy is now 75 years old. Okay, like right, like he came in again. I'm saying minimum age of this guy is 50, which means he is now 75 years old. He is rapidly aged 25 years in one day, and he's still somehow frisky enough to be doing all this shit. Again, you don't need to stab him with a rusty knife. You just need to push him away and watch him slowly die of old age. I mean, like it was going to happen soon anyway.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. Just needless nonsense.
And here's the thing. Let's say this fictional pharmaceutical company existed and they successfully cured 36 major things in the human race. Do you think they're going to get shut down?
Well, here's the thing. Do you know how closely watched pharmaceutical companies are?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I mean, there's huge like things going on, like the whole opioid epidemic, right? Like that's blamed on them. That was just like they came up with new drugs and then they basically pushed them too hard. You know what I mean? They went overboard. Obviously, it was illegal. They got punished for it. Not enough because obviously they have billions of dollars. They need to be punished hard with monetary values, and they did not. But they got punished somewhat.
Right
now. those companies, and they came up with a legal product that was approved by the FDA, and they pushed it too hard. Okay, they gave all these crazy incentives for like doctors to prescribe it and stuff, but it was a legal drug. Now they're taking these drugs that are not FDA approved at all and applying it to people and then putting them in a situation where they rapidly age to see if it works in a long time period. Who is going to buy any of this? Like, in order for them to make money off of this, the FDA has to approve it. Okay, the FDA is not going to prove it when they say, oh yeah, we got 20 years of work on this drug. When did you invent it? Last year? How the fuck did that happen?
Yesterday?
Science. We got lucky. No, it's like, no one is going to believe this. Two, the pharmaceutical company would not put their own name on this. There is no way, like Pfizer would put their name on the facility that's killing people on the beach every day. And like literally they had the pharmaceutical logo on their clothes, on the wall. I mean, it's everywhere. I was like, what kind of idiots are running this place? You know, like if the police come in and raid the place, they're going to go, that's the company, right? You got the logo all over everything. You got the paperwork to prove it. Like, what are you guys, stupid? No, I mean, would they use this shady research to like use stuff? Oh, I'm sure they would. But you know what?
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm not going to say the company itself, but there will be people inside the company that would definitely use this, right? Because if you have found out that a thing will work long term, it's very easy for you to greenlight a long term test to get this, you know, greenlit if you already know it's going to work. Yeah, of course you're going to go move forward with that because it's guaranteed money. So yes, there is a benefit to them using it. But in this way, that's ridiculous. It's stupid. Yeah, would they pay some like black ops company to like do this research for them? And then, oh, we didn't know where the information was coming from. Oh, we just paid them to do research. We don't know what they're doing. You know, even if they did know, of course, they would keep themselves 10 feet away from it, right? Yeah, I have no doubt that they would do that, but they would not put their own name. It would not be their own people doing this.
Right.
And that's anyway, in this movie they did. Rant over, I'm sorry.
Sorry. No. Big Pharma bad. That was the message of the movie.
I mean, and that's true. For the most part, that's true. I'm not disagreeing with that. Big Pharma is bad. I'm just saying they're not, you know, the people are smart enough to not be this dumb. Again, would they, you know, try to use this shady shit on the side? Oh, I'm sure they would. But they would not do this. Because again, the FDA exists. In order for them to sell this stuff in the U.S., the FDA has to approve it. And you can't go, yeah, we got 20 years of data. Okay. Well,
yesterday?
And you made the drug last week? How the fuck is that possible?
Where's your clients that have been taking this? Dead?
Yeah.
Of what? Old age?
Right. I mean, like, there's like stacks of paperwork and shit that you have to. I mean, if you've seen what the FDA needs in order to even like start the process, it's ridiculous. There's no way that this would even work.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Logical leap too far.
Again, that's what I'm saying. M. Night Shyamalan, when he steps into the fuzzy, I can accept it. I can work my way around it. When he steps past the fuzzy, my brain just shuts off. And I'm like, no, this is not possible. I hate it.
In fairness, I think his does too. I think his brain shuts off.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so number of brain cells lost out of 10 for you.
Oh, man. I mean, it has to be worse than Jack Frost, right? I think it is. I mean, it's at least Jack. I hated Jack Frost. I hated it.
Is it worse? Is it worse than Jeepers Creepers Reborn?
Oh, God. What did I give Jeepers Creepers Reborn?
0.5. Because we brought down to 0 as a scale.
Man, that is rough. 0.47. 0.47 brain cells lost out of 10. It is. I hate it just that tiny bit more than Jeepers Creepers Reborn.
Wow.
This movie, it insulted my intelligence, and I don't appreciate that. Jeepers Creepers was just bad, but it didn't try to make itself something that it wasn't. It was just bad.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I gave Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I thought I gave it also a 0.5.
It's possible.
I mean, I've seen this 3 times now. So, 0.5. That's it'll still average lower than Jeepers. So this is our new standard low. Is this movie at this point?
I'm not upset about that because it just, man, I don't understand how he goes from how do you go from Sixth Sense and Unbreakable to Old? How does that happen? How do you have those levels of extremes on your resume? I don't get it. I don't understand how that's possible.
When he's good, he's great. When he sucks, he's the worst.
How are you that? It's I don't know. It blows the mind.
He has a new movie come out next year, so I mean, we're not doing it, so he's doing something, right?
I guess.
I don't know what. All right. So that rant done. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And for anyone listening, if you don't want any spoilers for Knock at the Cabin because you haven't seen it yet, stop right now and go watch the movie. And then come back and finish the rest of this podcast. So, Knock at the Cabin. We saw this together Sunday. So, 2 days ago at the time of this recording.
Well, yeah, it's Valentine's Day.
Obviously, we've only watched it once.
We're recording this on Valentine's Day. So, yes, 2 days ago.
I'm spending it here with you.
Aw. That's right.
So, newest M. Night Shyamalan reason for our torturing of ourselves this month was because of Knock at the Cabin, right? So, quick recap. We're not going to go into heavy detail because there's not a lot to necessarily explain. But we get essentially the first, I'd say, 10 minutes of the movie is nothing but close-up heads of the little girl Wen and Dave Bautista.
Yeah, that's fair.
Leonard. It's like his entire head is the entire screen.
Well, he's got a big head. He's a big-headed dude.
He's Leonard. And Wen is out there catching grasshoppers and taking notes, naming them, and being an animal doctor as she wants to be. Or a biologist, right?
Just being a cute kid is generally what she's doing.
Yeah. And so this big hulking Leonard comes out of the woods. Hey, can we talk? I'm not supposed to talk to teenagers. Well, how about we become friends? This is getting weird already.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to watch the rest of this.
And so he's like, hey, I can help catch grasshoppers too. And he does. He's like, here's a flower for you. You don't have to take it. We can play a game. We become better friends. And they start playing a game, ask questions, like, what's your favorite? I don't remember anymore. But
it was like, what's your favorite
movie
or something?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then, she asks, why are you here? A very important job to do. Me and my friends. He asked about, she had a cleft lip that got repaired. He asked about that, and she gets clearly visible upset by that. And then we start seeing other things. He goes, you have, talk about that. She has 2 dads, daddy whoever and daddy whoever.
Daddy Eric and daddy Andrew.
That's right. And he's like, well, I have a very important job to me and my friends here. We have to talk to your daddies. And it's very important that if we go there, that you have to let us in. This is probably the most important job in the entire world. Has to be. And then she sees other people come in the force. I mean, one is Ron Weasley and Redmond.
Yeah.
Right? They call him Redmond? Yeah. I don't remember the other 2 people's names.
Off the top of my head. The girl
Nurse and Mom. Let's call her Nurse and Mom.
Mom was Adrian. I'm trying to remember. The nurse was Sabrina.
Sabrina, yeah.
Her name was Sabrina.
Sabrina. Yeah. So she gets scared. She runs back into the house. She tells her dad there's people outside. They get concerned, and they go through the typical locking of windows and doors, all that bracing of stuff, which if you saw Dave Peace out there, I'm like, nothing's going to stop this man.
Well, yeah, that's like, he looks out the door and he's like, the guy is huge. And at that point, you should just been like, yeah, we should just probably open the door because he's going to break the house
right
getting in here.
Right. And it's just it's like an Airbnb cabin somewhere in the woods of, I'm going to go with Pennsylvania.
Obviously. Its description is distance away from Philadelphia.
Right. And so, they start boarding stuff up, but they start breaking glass and getting there. Someone gets in through the window. Ron Redmond's able to push the couch away from the glass doors, and Dave Bautista just bursts through the basement.
Yeah.
Just as a monster through the basement door.
He probably just looked at the door, and the door was like, "Yep, right. Fall right down."
Yeah. Yeah. So they introduce themselves, and they're giving their expositional backstories. They try to fight, and Daddy Andrew beats up Redmond a little bit. But then they tie him up, and Sabrina's like, we're not here to hurt you, and they start like repairing trying to refix the glass door, the curtains, help heal up any wounds they had, and tie up. They don't tie up Gwen, but they tie up Daddy Andrew and Daddy Eric.
Yeah. Well, and also in the fight, Daddy Eric gets hit with one of their weapons and gets like a concussion.
Yes. And they treat it, and they're like, we're really not here to hurt you. And all that stuff. And they're trying to explain what to do. Like, we have a very, very important job. The most important thing in the world. One of you has to sacrifice yourselves to save the world. Yeah, okay. The whole not believing the stuff. Like, what's this really about? I think we get a little bit of flashbacks of when Daddy Eric meets Daddy Andrew's parents, clearly disapproving because they drove to Philadelphia.
Right. Yeah, I think the rules specifically are, 1, the 3 of you have to decide someone to sacrifice, and 2, the other people have to kill that third one willingly to sacrifice.
We can't do it.
Right? Yeah, no one else can do it. You have to be the whole part of this.
Right. And we've been having visions of this exact stuff. We know what's going to happen. We know all, news and all that jazz. And like, okay, we're going to ask you. And every time you say no, we have to do something about it. Will you who will you make the sacrifice, and who will it be? They go, no. So then Redmond puts a bag over his head and says, I unleash this upon part of humanity has been judged.
Yeah. So yeah, part of humanity has been something like that.
And then he gets brained by bludgeons and axes to the head. Right.
Yeah, I guess we should also note that like everybody has like a unique kind of weapon. Like Leonard has like a cross between like an axe and a pitchfork. Sabrina has like I don't even know I know she's got like a sledgehammer head with a chain on the end of hers.
It's like a mace, but with what's that called?
A flail.
Flail, but with the axe.
Right. Yeah, and then Adrian's got like a cleaver, like a kitchen cleaver on the end of a stick. And then Red
like a javelin.
Yeah, Redmond's got like a war hammer, but it's like on a longer stick. I forget there's like a name for it. I forget, like a bardish or whatever. There's a pole arm name for it. I'm sure my D&D people are probably angry. I don't know.
We should
right.
And so they kill him, and they turn on the news, and there's news that was the first one the plane's going down.
No, the first one was the earthquakes.
Oh, it's the tsunami.
The earthquakes.
The earthquakes that led to tsunamis. Yeah. And he's like, we know exactly what's going to happen. He's able to recite what the newscaster is about to say. Like, oh, clearly this is planned. We don't have our phones. Daddy Andrew has a gun, but it's in the car. They have to try to figure out how to get to it. And he goes, wait a minute, that guy looked familiar. He's not Redmond. I don't remember the name he gave. But
they didn't know. Yeah, they knew his last name was O'Bannon because they basically there's another flashback to where they were attacked in a bar, to where the one guy was basically smashed in the back of the head with a beer bottle a couple of times.
Yes,
basically because they were like two gay guys talking in a bar, and he was upset about that, so he attacked them.
Them being in the
correct
bar because they weren't being. So you got to keep it quiet. It's like we're being too loud. You just got to keep it quiet. They weren't being loud. They weren't being obnoxious. They're just
the guy was out gay bashing is what he was doing. He was upset about it, and he did it. And again, they don't show the face of the attacker in the flashback. I mean, profile, I mean, what they did show did look like him, but like you don't get the definitive it is him at that time.
Right. And as I said, we're getting Expedition Learns our second grade teacher. Sabrina's a nurse.
Adrian's a cook.
Adrian, a cook, and she has a son.
Name.
Why are you telling all this stuff? Like, we want you to know who we are. This is what we're here to do. You guys have to make the decision. Well, we don't believe you. I really don't want you to think that way.
Right.
Talking about the concussion with the guy, Daddy Eric, who was concussed, make sure he's still okay. And still Leonard being very, very nice. They made it very clear, this is your choice. You have to do it. If you keep saying no, more bad things are going to happen. Will you do it? No. So then it's Adrian next. And she says the same thing. Part of humanity has been judged. And here's, I'll release a plague upon the world. That is the planes falling out of the sky.
That's the plague.
It's the surge. It's the surge of a virus. All of a sudden started killing people. Like death toll went up rapidly.
Right.
And Daddy Andrew's still going, no, this is fake. This is pre-programmed. How can you know all this
and again,
stuff?
To be fair, at this point in time, I kind of feel for him because the tsunami thing, the first earthquake and tsunami had happened 4 hours before they even started talking to them. So that had already happened. So the way that they're saying it is that, they could have known what was going on and they're doing this to purposely mess with us, to get us to think that this is happening, but they already knew what was happening. They just used this as a reason to show us that, we're serious, right? And the second one is they were talking about you knew what time this show about this virus was going to be on, and you just put it on. This virus has been around for a while. So, I mean, that this show was talking about that virus at this time, this is something you could have easily planned, because the guy, Leonard, kept looking at his watch. And he was saying, this is why you're looking at your watch, is because you're planning on these things happening at this time so that you can turn on the TV at that time and know that this show is going to be on. And at this point, I mean, who knows, right? I mean, it's possible. I mean, those are plausible things to say, because those two things could have been exactly what they said they were. They could have been planned. Again, at this point in time, it's up in the air.
And then they go, this was a planned attack because that guy is who attacked it. Go look at his ID. It's not who he says he is. Well, that's what he told us. So this is not random. You guys didn't have these visions. We knew this guy from before.
And they're basically saying oh, no, we had these visions before. We met each other because of these visions. And then they were kind of trying to say maybe you had these visions because he told you about them. He's the one that was planning this whole thing, which again,
because he went to jail because of the attack.
And again, it's I don't know why he would kill himself first if that was the case, but sure. I mean, but it's still in the realm of possibility at this time.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's still one of them got did they get a knife? And he started cutting his bindings. The other one was able to
the little girl got a knife when they were eating dinner or something. She got a knife and she gave it to one of the dads, and he was cutting through the rope, and the other one was working his way out of the ropes.
They're getting loose on him, yeah. So, they're still arguing about this stuff, and then they got distracted by, was it Wynn?
Yeah. They were like, oh, do what you did last Thanksgiving. And then she was like screaming that she wanted to watch like some TV show or something.
Right. So they got distracted. Daddy Andrew gets out, gets to the car, realizes the tires are slashed, is trying to get to his gun, and starts getting attacked by Sabrina. And she does stab him pretty well in the leg.
Yeah.
But he shoots at her, seemingly misses at first.
There was one thing that I was a little bit confused about. Maybe you noticed something I didn't notice. When they were attacked in the house, right? Like obviously Daddy Eric got hit in the head and concussed. I mean, that's not debatable. Daddy Andrew, from what I understood, kind of gave up when he realized he was outmatched, right?
Yeah.
Did his leg get injured before that point?
Yes, he was limping before that point. Before he got stabbed in the side.
He was limping as he went out the door to the car, but I don't remember him being injured before then.
He had a stab mark on his left leg. I don't remember him getting stabbed either.
Again, I don't know if that's like a scene they cut out or something, but I was confused when I was watching it. I'm like, I don't think he was injured. Why is he limping? Like, I'm pretty sure he just gave up after the other one got concussed.
Right. And he got stabbed a little bit in the side with the javelin, essentially. And then he does, end up shooting Sabrina in the head.
No, not at this time. He shoots the top of the car, and then she drops her weapon, and then he brings her back in the house. And then, actually, she stays outside, and he goes back in the house, and then she comes running back in, and then he shoots her later on in the house in the stomach. But after Leonard says the thing that he said before the other ones did their sacrifice. So he did the whole, like, what is your answer, with that kind of thing. And he's like, okay, then another sacrifice has to be made. And then she runs in and then gets shot. So it was like it was pre-set up.
Right. And then he still has to complete the ritual by still using one of those weapons on her, even though she's dead. And then,
but to be fair, they did that with the other ones too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when the planes start falling out of the sky. They see numerous airlines are falling from the sky. That essentially the heavens are falling. Right. One of the biblical plagues. And then I think after that they were going to put Leonard into the bathroom. They were going to get out of there because he still has the gun. And then they hear him like smash through the window in the bathroom. They're locking him. Like, that door's not going to keep him there. Also, he's not going to fit through that window. And he shoots. He's like, you better not be in there, Leonard. If you are, I'm going to shoot you. And he opens the door. He's not in there. And he sees the potentially shower curtain there. So he shoots into the shower curtain and nothing. And he starts to slightly go. And then Leonard jumps out of the shower. He was shot in the shoulder, took it like a champ, and attacks him and goes, I can't hurt you. You have to believe me. We are. He goes into the title. Essentially, they are the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And this, if you you have one more time I have to ask you one more time. And if you say no, what I'm about to do will give you a couple of minutes to change your minds. He's like, I want to do this outside. So they go, out to the deck, and he sits in the rocking chair, and then, says his, a part of humanity has been judged, and slits his throat. And then lightning strikes happen all over, and fire start going, and they go into this that Daddy Eric is a believer in religion, and he thought he saw something in the light that a figure that was there, that he actually believes them. And there's the whole thing of Daddy Andrew having anger issues and not believing them to be this at all, but he's starting to waver as well. And that just became I want to die. No, I'm going to die. Let me do it. Because I believe it. I'm at peace. And so Andrew kills Daddy Eric. And they kind of drive out of there because the cabin starts catching on fire. They find their car they all came into. He does look at their stuff, and they were telling the truth. That it is Leonard. He is a second grade school teacher. That this, Adrian was a cook and a mom. That Sabrina was a nurse. They were all telling the truth. And they go to a diner, and we get a little cutscene of, exposition of everything. That all the stuff stopped happening. So it was all true all along. And essentially, at the end of the movie, they sit in the car and they drive back. So, my first thought was this wasn't a horrible movie. I don't think.
No, I didn't hate it. It's in the the upper tiers of his movies, but again, his movies there's some good ones in there, but the vast majority are garbage. But I would put this one in the very top. Well, not the very top. Sixth Sense and Unbreakable is up there, but somewhere underneath those.
Yeah, and I can see once again we had that really Visit, good enough, old, abysmal. This better than The Visit.
No,
I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that.
What are your first thoughts?
First thoughts is, honestly, I was kind of cringing and flinching the whole time. Please don't make this bad. Please don't make this bad. Please don't make please don't do something really, really stupid and I'm going to hate it. Please don't do that. It was the whole time I was waiting for some stupid happening old twist. I'm please don't do that. Please be the good one. We paid money to be here. Please don't do this. And I was pleasantly surprised. Nothing happened. I will say, obviously there's supernatural things going on here, right? But even though this is, technically religious kind of actions here, right? They did, they specifically mentioned God and this in the Four Horsemen and stuff like that. But they didn't. But this one was not nearly as heavy-handed as Devil was. Devil was very, very heavy-handed with the whole religious things. This one was, even though again it had that religious aspect of it, it was a good movie. And again, I even though I'm not a religious person, I still enjoy religious, horror stories. I do.
Right. And that's something that we want to do is good religious horror movies because of Devil.
Exactly. Yeah. Devil being so bad that you wanted us, offset it with okay, it can be done well. I'm not against religious horror movies at all. I think it can be done well. It just, again, things happen sometimes that whatever. But this one I think did it well. And I think Devil did it badly. This one did it well. It didn't heavy-handed slap you with it. It just presented it to you. This is the story, accept it. And it was done well. I think it was done tastefully, done well. And it was overall pretty good.
Right. I'm the same boat as you, not religious in any least bit. And so, does the religious stuff scare me in horror movies like The Exorcist, which is considered one of the scariest movies of all time? No. We don't believe in that. That's not our thought process. But we can still appreciate it.
Right. Oh yeah, you can appreciate it. Again, I was raised Catholic, so I know everything that all that. It's not like it's mystery to me. So I get it. I know it.
Right. Right. I was raised the same way, Catholic, right? But no, it wasn't, you're right, it wasn't heavy-handed. Now, I don't know if it's because this wasn't his original script. It's based off a book that came out in 2018. So, I don't know if that had something to do with it, because we could argue Old was the same thing, because Old was a comic book. So maybe those were panels in the comics. I didn't read the comic, so maybe those random-ass shots that we don't like were part of it. But I know the twist is different-ish. The ending's different-ish from the movie, from the book. I did read up about that, but we'll discuss that in the twist.
Yeah.
Highlights. I think we were discussing, because you came over after we watched this for dinner, right? For the superb owl day, and we were discussing it, and Dave Bautista, arguably one of the best wrestlers turned actors. That his range of what he can do is better than anyone else's. Yes, The Rock is The Rock, though. He's always The Rock.
Right. I mean, does he make money? Yeah. I mean, does he play a good character? Yeah, but he's always almost the same character in just about everything he plays. Does he play that character well? Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying that he does not. I'm just saying that he has a character, and that's what he's kind of cast as. Whether that's on purpose or not, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people get typecast as like, oh, we need you to be The Rock, and if it's making him tons of money, why wouldn't he be The Rock? I mean, exactly, you know what I mean? But yeah, Batista, I mean, dude, the things that he's been in, he's done phenomenal job. Like Blade Runner 2049. I didn't expect him to be in that movie. He was in that movie. He did a very, kind of nuanced performance in that movie. I mean, it was amazing. It kind of blew my mind. I didn't expect him to be able to do that. To be fair, really the only thing I'd seen him before that is I knew he was a wrestler, and then he was in, Guardians of the Galaxy, which, it's a comedic role. That's not that much of a stretch for a wrestler in. But then like Blade Runner 2049, it was like this kind of like nuanced thing. Yeah, there was a physical role, there was a fight involved, but the acting involved with that was great. And I'd say just about everything he's been in has been phenomenal. I mean, he can do serious dramatic type stuff, he can do comedic type stuff, he can do physical stuff. Obviously dude's a monster, but phenomenal. I'll totally agree with that as the highlight.
That's his acting chops are amazing. Like, he made the movie.
Definitely
hands down made the movie. I think anyone else could have been interchangeable, but he made that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What about low points for you? Do you have any other highlights?
No. I think that's a fair highlight.
Low points.
Low.
The screams. The wind screaming.
That was
pierced me to my bones.
Yeah, that was not pleasant. But again, if you're bringing a gun with you, why is the clip not loaded already?
Or, it's a fingerprint scanner. Why is it not in the house?
Well, okay. This is like, you have a child, right? Like, I get it. You have a child. This isn't even nighttime yet, right? Yeah, most commonly when you would bring the gun into the house is like nighttime, right? Like you're afraid something's going to happen at night. I get that. During the day, you're in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Would you necessarily bring the gun in the house? Not necessarily. No, I'm not saying that. But if you're going on vacation in the woods and you feel the need to bring a gun, why is the clip not loaded? I'm not saying why is the gun not necessarily being loaded. Again, a lot of times when you're crossing state lines, if you have a loaded gun in the car, you can get in a lot of trouble. But if you have a loaded,
he's putting bullets,
right? If you have a loaded clip that is outside of the gun, that is not illegal in any state. You know what I mean? Right. If you have to physically load the clip into the gun before you can fire it, that is not illegal. That is not considered a loaded weapon. I've looked at the laws of most of that. I don't know if it's 100% correct, but I'm pretty sure I'm close to 100% correct.
Maybe just outside Philadelphia.
Right. But I'm saying, if you're going to bring a gun with you on a trip, do you want to keep the clip loaded all the time? No, you wear the spring down. You don't want to keep it loaded all the time. I get that. But if you're going on vacation, you bring this gun specifically with you for protection, at least load the clip. If the clip not being in the gun, totally get it. You're going across state lines. You don't want to get screwed, especially, a gay couple, they're obviously, had been attacked at some point in time. They're probably going to be worried about it. A lot of times when you find a cabin in the middle of the woods, you're probably in a rural area. Yeah, I can understand being very careful. The clip not being in the gun, totally acceptable. I get that. The clip not being loaded is unacceptable to anyone. It's just not. It's not a thing.
Yeah. It's in her scream.
Well, I don't like children screaming. Period.
Oh no, neither do I. But no, I mean, like it wasn't like heavy. Except we discussed religious oriented, yes, but it's not ham-fisted. It's not shoving it down your throat. It's part of the story, and it works really well. So the twist is, obviously the twist is it's real, right? That these aren't a crazy group led there by Ron Weasley to go after them for him going to jail, losing his job, and all that crap. It's coincidental that he happened to be the one that attacked them in the bar years earlier.
Oh, sorry. I will go back and say there's one more low point that I don't like. Okay. Who are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse?
Death, pestilence,
famine, and war.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Bad things. Who are the 4 horsemen of this apocalypse?
Earthquake.
No, they
plague.
specifically name them.
They do, don't they?
Okay.
What were they?
Malice. Okay. Yeah, that sounds bad. Evil, right? Get that, right? Okay. Yeah. 2, nurturing.
The nurse is nurturing. Yeah.
Well, no, the nurse was healing.
Oh.
Nurturing was Adrian the cook, because she made food, so she's nurturing. The nurse is healing. Okay? And Leonard was guidance. What kind of lame ass 4 horsemen are one bad thing, malice? Okay, that one sounds cool. That one sounds like it could be a 4 horsemen, like nurturing, healing, guidance. Those aren't 4 horsemen, man. You know what I mean? No. That's not horseman names. I mean, again, like how easy would it have been for the to turn on the TV? You know, some country has attacked another country. War has begun.
Right.
How easy would that be to go, hey, how could I possibly have known that ahead of time? You wouldn't.
Right.
You know, there's no way you would have known that. Again, like, why would you go outside of existing, established 4 horsemen? What is the point of that? You know, like you got, war, famine, pestilence, death itself. I mean, look, why would you have to go outside of that and make up your own bullshit 4 horsemen? That I was just upset about that.
Even the X-Men had the correct.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, they may have stretched it a bit of what they do and how they mean it, but at least they had the same names. But everybody knows who the 4 horsemen are. Why are you remaking like 3 positive aspect 4 horsemen? That doesn't even make any sense.
It's the nice 4 horsemen.
Well, sorry, that was my there you go. Point. You continue.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, the twist was it was real. That's the twist. That this stuff actually was happening, and they actually were the cause of it, and they actually were, because one of them sacrificed the other, humanity was saved. And here's where the difference is. In the book, you don't get that answer. Everything still happens the way it happens, but we don't get the news exposition at the end. You don't know if it was real or not.
Right.
So, how do you feel? Do you think that would you rather have been left open-ended and not essentially have a twist?
Okay, well, to me, it's this. Like I said earlier, the first 2 are plausible that those are planned ahead of time, right? Again, like they could have just looked for some natural disaster to happen and then come in saying that was the first one. Second one, we know what this show is going to be on at this certain time. Say, look, this is the plague, and like the plague has already been in effect for how long? Like that's not a plague that just happened. But the third one, that's definitive. Okay. The third one, like planes just start randomly falling out of the sky at exactly the time that this lady died. I don't. You can't plan that. There's no way in hell that would be real, or that wouldn't be real. So at that point in time, I don't know why you would be fighting that this doesn't exist anymore, other than just plainly that you just want to defy them and you don't want to give in to them. But I mean, there's no way in hell. Again, he specifically said earlier, like, shards of glass falling from the sky. Okay. And then you have planes randomly falling from the sky. Like if, a couple of them happened and they were all the same plane model. Yeah, I get it. Probably.
Well, they said like 400,
right. But like every plane on every continent just starts randomly falling out of the sky. Yeah. Sorry. I don't care who you are. There's no other argument that you can have at that point other than like this whole thing is like CCTV, right? Like, I get that. But, like, okay, if you were to turn on CNN and you see, like, Anderson Cooper, a person that you know is a guy, there's no way in hell that these 4 people could pay off CNN and Anderson Cooper. There's no way that you'd have that much money to do that. Because, like, even movies, have Anderson Cooper, like, do stuff, right? Just to have like, this is legit, right? This is Anderson Cooper is saying it. It's for real. Like if you have Anderson Cooper saying planes are falling out of the ground, falling out of the sky, and this is on CNN, like the outrageous amount of money that you would have to pay them to be able to have that on tape. And they would only do that for someone that's going to put it in a real movie. They wouldn't just give it to somebody on the side saying like, here's a bunch of money, give me this tape. There's no way in hell they would not do that. So like if you saw Anderson Cooper saying that planes are falling out of the sky, at that point, what argument do you have? Yeah, this is real, man. None. Everything is happening. Don't let poor Leonard kill himself. You already know it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. But they were so determined that it'll just be the 3 of us.
Yeah, I don't care if the world ends. I want us to be together.
Let them burn because they don't like us and we don't like them.
It's like, wow.
Which that's not valid.
Right. Like again, the first 2, I totally get it. I totally get it. Yeah, that could have easily been planned, and I understand why they're upset at that point. Not giving you any shit there. But like the second that lady dies and he performs the ritual, all of a sudden planes start falling out of the sky. Dude, give it up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hate the world and you want to watch it burn, that's a valid choice, I guess. But like, if you have any desire to save the world or have a future for your child, then yeah, you need to not let poor Leonard kill himself.
Yep. Yeah. He was just a gentle giant. He really was. All right. Well, any more on the twist? I mean, I don't think there's really much more to rant about.
No, I mean, I don't even say it was really a twist. I mean, I saw it coming a mile away. I mean, to me, the stuff was like too heavy to ignore. I mean, before even the planes started falling out of the sky. But again, I could see that, I could see people looking beyond that, especially people as jaded as they are with how shitty the world can be. I get that. I totally understand why you would not give a shit about the first 2 because, this could easily be faked. But the third one, there's no way around that, man. I don't care what you're saying.
All right. So I want to bring this up. We discussed a quick little prediction before we saw this movie of what we think the twist was. Do you remember what
I don't remember. What did I say?
That they will all be saved. They'll go through with it, and it was all just a test.
Well, I was right.
That's what we agreed upon.
I was right.
but we thought that that all of them would still be spared. That all of them come out.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I was half right.
I mean, we weren't too far off. We weren't too far off. And that's just from previews. Like we didn't talk to anyone about this other than each other.
We're half right.
Well, I think it's pretty good, but that means we know M. Night now, especially because we literally just watched 7 other movies of his preparing for this. Right?
Correct.
All right. So I will go first on Brain Cells Lost Out of Town. I enjoyed this movie, and I'm going to watch it again when it comes on demand. I want to watch it with the wife. I think she'll like it. Hell, I think my parents will like it.
Yeah, that's fair.
They liked M. Night earlier stuff.
Yeah, then
they haven't watched anything since like The Village. Oh. Lucky them, right?
That's fair.
So just because of that, I'm going to 8.5 just because it's been one rewatch. Maybe we'll have the M. Night Shyamalan charm where it gets worse the more we watch it. I don't know right now. How about you? How many brain cells lost out of 10?
Right now, I'm going to say a 7 because I would rewatch it, but I'm right about there. So I'll say a 7.
Okay.
But, yeah, that may change the second time I watch it. But as of right now, it's a 7.
Right. And as we discussed, what we're going to do at the end of the year is we're going to do kind of a best of and worst of list like we did before, and then just kind of touch point on stuff that we've discussed. And will we watch these other movies again by then? No. But we'll have seen additional. I was trying to do the math today of how many movies we've watched so far in 30 episodes. If we average at least 3 or 4, we've watched at least 120 movies. We've watched more because we did a shit ton.
Well, yeah, we did a lot of October, but yeah, some of the earlier episodes we kind of stretched it to 5 or 6 movies.
We did a lot of Black Cat,
right? Well, yeah, if you talk about that one, like I watched a lot of movies, man. I watched a lot of that. I watched like 5 Black Cats just by itself.
Right. So, I'll be interested to see. Because we're going to put this onto our website so we can keep track of this stuff as well. And so people that want to see what we rank these as well, we'll have a column spreadsheet. We'll make it try to look pretty. And we'll go through this. I'd be interested to see on our yearly recap where we're at with all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're only recapping movies that came out in that year. We're not discussing, Old isn't going to be on our worst list because it didn't come out in 2023 for a yearly recap. But Knock to the Cabin will be on as a movie that we can recap.
That's fair.
So. All right. Well, we've mustered our way through 8 movies of M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
How do you feel that this is over? I feel great.
Yeah, I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it's over. I wish I would have watched all of these movies before I watched Knock at the Cabin so that I could end it on a good note, but unfortunately I did not.
What you watch after?
The Visit.
The Visit? Yeah. I watched Old after.
No, Old I watched before, and I'm very glad of that, because if I watched Old last, I would probably never watch another one of his movies again. But yeah, I watched The Visit after, and it's not bad, but it's not as good as Knock at the Cabin. So yeah, I wish I would have reversed those. But again, I mean, one's in the theater; it's kind of hard to plan around it.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's about all we can say for right now. And it says as more M. Night comes out in horror, we will then visit them at that point in time. It might become part of our monthly recap because we're not going to go back and watch more of this stuff necessarily
for a while.
Maybe, yeah. So it'll just eventually we get to the point where we can keep up with new movies. It's going to take a long while, though.
Yeah, we got a while.
Yeah, I'm guessing 2 years at least before we start running out of stuff. So, on that note, next week we will be discussing what we're calling Innocence Lost. So we're going to be talking about movies that had connotations of childhood memories and the horror movies that have been made around it. Because in preparation for this, we have Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey coming out, and there's been already big discussions, controversies with other public domain stuff that Disney had or anyone else had that they're going to keep doing this. They're making this whole universe out of this now. They're going to do a Peter Pan one's already been announced, a sequel to Blood and Honey. So I think we found it appropriate to discuss some of these. Our oldest ones on here is going to be Pinocchio's Revenge, which came out in the 80s. Which I don't think you've seen. I haven't seen in a long ass time. And then Willy's Wonderland, kind of an homage, precursor to the Five Nights at Freddy's that's coming out by Blumhouse, I think this year or next. kind of the play on the Showbiz Pizza celebration station that we grew up with, the animatronics. And then one from our parents' childhood, the Banana Splits movie. Because that was the Banana Splits were a thing.
That was like my mom's thing that she watched when she was a kid. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely. My parents didn't watch it, but my in-laws definitely remember that, and they watched that movie.
No, my mom definitely knows the song because I was telling her what our next episode was going to be, and she started singing the song. So she definitely knows the song.
Oh wow! All right, so yeah, that's where we're going with Innocence Lost. So why don't you go ahead and lead us out?
This is Salem saying, "Long live the new flesh."
And this is Graveyard saying, "Have you checked on the children?"
Good night.